in. So if anybody's watching this on the YouTube, you can look either on the chat or in the description, and you can find a link to a StreamYard website that would allow you to join in the chat. So I'd recommend that somebody come here and let me give me somebody to talk to. So yeah, otherwise it's been a it's been a good Sunday for me. I only had the one 9 o'clock mass. It's outrageously windy here in Fargo today. 55-mile-an-hour gusts, pretty intense. So and all of that. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. A blast from the past. This is John Norberg. John, you are live on YouTube right now, and everything will be recorded for posterity. So do be prudent, young man.
All right. Well, I'll try not to swear or anything unseemly such as that.
Sure.
I, by sheer luck, happened across your link on Facebook and realized it had been a little while since I'd caught up on what Father Eric Seitz was doing in his life. So I figured I'd pop in here and see if maybe I could catch up on what Father Eric Seitz was doing in his life.
Yeah. Well, I've been moved to Holy Cross in West Fargo.
Yeah, you and Father Riley are now kind of like neighbors across the town now, right?
Yeah. And so I get to see them. I get to see my parents a lot. And yeah, it's a good. If you could see out that window behind me, you would see there's a bunch of steel going up for the new church. It's very exciting once things start going up into the air, having that steel there. We've got one of my internet friends here, Andrew. How you doing, Andrew?
Hello there.
How's life out in the East Coast?
It's good. It's good. The weather is still very warm, strangely, but yeah.
I can attest.
That's right. Yeah, you both live on the East Coast now. You need to come to the Midwest where everything's better, except the weather. The weather objectively is awful.
Well,
I like the winter.
I was talking about the weather. Don't you guys get tornadoes over there?
Not that often in North Dakota. It usually doesn't get the right kind of airflow for it. Yeah, tornadoes would be pretty awful, but we don't have to worry about that.
Exciting though.
Yeah. Well, John, what have you been up to lately?
Well, bought a house, so that was cool. Going to be moving in about a week, a little less than that. Tomorrow is Tara's 30th birthday, so that's also cool. Oh, we had a baby about 2.5 months ago, so that's also cool.
All right. That's
Maybe
number
have a
3.
name?
Yeah. Good memory.
Yeah. What's the new one's name?
Genevieve Christine.
Okay.
Wow.
Nice. Very nice. And now I saw your post on Facebook. That house is out in the country, ain't it?
Yeah, a good solid 8 acres for us to run around and maybe get a horse, possibly a cow of some kind to provide some milk and cheese.
You'd better. The cow will make you a lot more money than the horse will. I think they call the horses like money burners, hay burners, something like that. They don't make you a dime unless you're like herding cattle.
Unless your horse's name is Flightline. Apparently, that guy just won the Breeders' Cup yesterday, and he's supposed to be the next Secretariat. I mean, pretty historical win, and I don't know if you guys haven't heard of Flightline, you will be before the next year is out.
Okay, I don't really pay that much attention to horses.
Andrew, what part of the East Coast are you from?
I'm from New Jersey. I'm right near Long Island and all that stuff. So.
All right, so I've never been to New Jersey. You'll have to tell me, is it as smelly as they say?
No.
You're just saying that because you grew up
smelly. Why is that the word people go to?
No, I'm just kidding. I spent 0 time there myself, but I have a friend who's from Jersey who claims that it's the stinkiest place on earth. I'm not sure if I believe him or not, or if he's just pulling my legs. So I figured I'd ask somebody who's actually been.
Yeah, not sure what he's talking about. I mean, I've been to other states several times, and when I came back, I didn't think it smelled too bad. So maybe he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Well, to be fair, I'm from Maryland, with Baltimore basically right down the road, and I have yet to go to Baltimore and see a single rat. I'm sure they exist there, but we are not a rat-infested city, like somebody might say we are.
Are you famous for having rats in Baltimore?
That was like a news story, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was actually. It's funny because I just saw an article yesterday that there was a grocery store that was shut down in Baltimore because the health inspector said it was rodent infested. But I personally have yet to experience a single rat inside or outside in my entire trips to Baltimore.
I don't think I've seen a wild rat in my life.
Neither have I,
They're
for that
usually
matter.
pretty good at hiding, right?
That's
Like
probably
something
why.
our size just gets registered as a predator, and they manage to skedaddle.
Yeah, that's true. But
Well,
yeah, no smells over here, I guess, unless you go near the city or something, maybe.
well, I shall have to make a trip up to New Jersey to ratify your statement myself.
Good
All right.
idea.
Very
Don't take
good.
my word for it.
Now, for those of you who don't know my friend John, we went to seminary together way back in the day for about 2 years, and that's how we became friends.
Oh,
And what John probably doesn't know is any of these wacky YouTube channels that I've been following. Have I ever talked to you about that, John?
No, you've talked to me about many of your weird and wacky interests. I think you were the guy who got me into Doctor Who. Speaking of our
Yeah.
time at
Oh,
seminary
that's like
together.
5 years ago. That's gone full woke now. So,
So
yeah.
what YouTube communities have you been up to?
So you're actually being broadcast on one right now because this isn't just on my channel; it's on my friend Jacob's channel. He's a Jew and very serious about it. And it all kind of it's like we're all like a little eddy following behind the big steamboat named Jordan Peterson. And just sort of the possibilities he's opened up in his conversations and his philosophy and all of that. Um, so anyway, what I'm saying is that you should hop on the Discord server and check it out because we got all sorts of wacky characters. We just happen to have, uh, all Catholics here right now, but there could be all sorts of people here. We've got
yeah.
Laura saying hello, hello, and I'm going to say hello, Laura. Why don't you find the link and get in here so that we can have a proper Catholic chat?
Laura is also Catholic.
Yeah, yeah, it must be me
Hold
kind of
on, let me
drawing in all the
go
Catholics.
get all my Catholic friends too. We'll just jump in one thing.
Yes. And so since we are simultaneously broadcasting this on my Jewish friends channel, we have to be careful that anytime we mention the Trinity, that we note that Jacob would say that this is idolatrous to believe in the Trinity. So
Our opinions are not Jacob's or whatever people say. I don't
well,
remember.
basically, it's just we have to pay tribute to because I'm probably a lot of these viewers here are coming through that. You should do that, Laura. Just find the StreamYard link. It should either be at the top of the chat or in the video description, and you follow that link and you get right in.
Well, I was reminded today with the gospel of my deep admiration of Jewish fortitude with the Book of Maccabees that we all listened to this morning. And I think that's something that we could all learn a lesson from today. Are we willing to die for our principles, like to that extent?
Yeah, he wouldn't even eat a little bit of pork there. Just
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
"I'd rather die." Just
Rather
reminder
die than eat
that
pork.
that Maccabees was not in the Jewish Bible, but I would think it would be regarded at least as a like a historical book that they could consider. I don't know. We'll see if anybody hops in the chat to allow that. Yeah,
We've got so many books.
No.
we do. We don't have
Have
as
you
many as the Ethiopians though.
Oh,
They've
really?
got every book in their Bible.
Have you read the book of Tobit?
I have.
I read that recently, and I thought Saint, what is it? Saint Raphael the Archangel. He
Mhm.
sounds hilarious. He's just
So,
like, the
guys,
road is safe. It will be fine. Do not worry. Like, oh my goodness. You'd think they would think he's kind of strange, but anyway.
Well, ladies,
all right.
gents, I am going to have to take my leave. Father Eric, it was great to see you. Andrew, great to meet you. Laura, I know you just hopped on. Hey, I'm John.
Nice to meet you too.
Mhm.
Hi.
I hope you all have a fantastic chat out there. Father, we'll have to catch up sometime next time I'm back around the FM area.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Don't be a stranger, John.
All right. Well, have a great chat, everyone.
Thank you. So Jacob is not on here, but he's watching us. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, he's just
just chilling.
monitoring the Gentiles to make sure that we're behaving ourselves here.
He'll probably hop in if we, start saying things we shouldn't.
Yeah, yeah. Not a Rabbi Yosef says that the book of Maccabees is more acceptable than Jubilees, but it's certainly not scripture. So thank you for the semi-authoritative thing. So yeah, yeah. Good old second book of Maccabees. That was our first reading in the Catholic liturgy today.
I remember.
Yeah. Laura, were there any good points from the homily you heard for your Sunday? Yeah, that sounded like a no.
No, there may have been. I just got to think about it. You know how it is with homilies. You don't. Sometimes they give
I have
you an
one.
impression, but if somebody asks you to summarize them later, you can't necessarily do it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. What did he
Honestly,
say?
I've had trouble with my own homilies summarizing them sometimes.
Right.
So
I can summarize one of the homilies I heard, and that's the Pharisees believed in the resurrection. The Sadducees didn't believe in the resurrection, and that's why they were sad, you see.
oh,
That's what I heard in my homily.
that certainly made an impression, didn't it?
Actually, I was singing with a fellow choir director of mine who told me that joke, and then about 20 seconds later, the priest tells that joke in his homily. So it was quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't remember any specifics from the sermon, but it was fine.
Okay.
I should probably
That was a good
remember
question.
something.
I should have been able to answer it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, if your priest wasn't leaving you with a pearl,
Yeah.
that you can just hold on to and remember, means he needs to tighten up his preaching a little bit.
Well, but also the sermons are in Spanish, and I'm probably only going to
Oh.
remember stuff from them if I listen really, really carefully. So if I zone out at all, then
Mhm.
I'm not going to remember.
Okay.
So probably my fault.
Okay. All right. All right. That's right. You like that Spanish, Mass. I forget that, right? Because you don't look very Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
No,
they
it's
only
good.
do the
Good one.
homily in Spanish? Everything
They
else
do
is
everything in
English?
Spanish.
Oh. I was going to say it might be kind of funny if a priest does the mass in English, but then only does the homily in Latin.
Well, now see, going to mass in Spanish, if you have been really into Latin stuff, can be a little bit difficult because the Spanish responses are often so similar to the Latin responses that you can accidentally start saying the Latin because a word
Oh.
tips you
Yeah.
off or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's not that much difference between et cum spiritu tuo and e contua spiritu.
Right.
They'll all just get
Yeah.
all kind of mixed up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do you do Spanish masses, Father?
I do not. I do
Oh,
not.
okay. But you know Spanish.
I do not. I mean, I know that.
You don't?
I don't really
I thought
know
all
Spanish.
priests were trained in Spanish. Maybe that's
I
just around here.
yeah. So we have enough priests trained in Spanish to cover the very few Spanish masses that we really need in this area.
Oh, okay.
You probably have more Spanish speakers in your area, which
I think
means
so.
you need more priests who have that capability. So no, my Latin is better than my Spanish. Not that I could speak either.
Yeah, well, me neither.
Yeah.
I know how to pronounce it, but not how to speak it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of people out there know how to speak Latin spontaneously, so I think you're okay.
You know, I heard about one of my buddy's seminary professors, not a seminary I went to. He landed in the airport in Rome, and he's just a real absent-minded professor. And then
Mhm.
he goes up to a taxi driver or concierge or something, and just accidentally starts speaking to them in Latin because he's just one of these brilliant professors. Um, and the taxi driver or whatever looks at him and says, "I we haven't spoken that language in 1,500 years." And the guy looks up into the sky and he's like, "Yeah, it's been a while since I've been here."
Nice.
Strange.
Now, Charlie Campbell, it says you said there's so many Catholics here. Well, you could change that. You could find the StreamYard link either in the video description or in the chat, and you could join this chat yourself.
Also,
No way,
given
Charlie.
how many Catholics there actually are in the world, the fact that there are 3 of us on this stream right now isn't really that many Catholics.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
true.
so.
It's true.
Yeah. But yeah, we should talk about some Catholic things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Catholic things.
What's your
All
favorite
right.
Catholic thing, Father Eric?
My
Oh,
favorite
gosh.
Catholic thing. So a week ago, for the first time with a congregation, I celebrated the traditional Latin Mass.
Oh,
Uh,
Sweet.
it
Last
was
week?
last Sunday.
Oh, nice.
congratulations. Who came?
So
Everyone.
it was the Latin Mass community that we have here in Fargo, and they've recently moved from the cathedral to the chapel at the local high school, um, which came with some wailing and gnashing of teeth, but we're making it work. And I guess for some reason I'm kind of the last on the rotation. They'll only call me if they need me, because the other guys who cover it either are at the cathedral or have special assignments without regular Sunday duties. So, but they couldn't get anybody, so they got me, and I was extremely happy to do it. It was the Feast of Christ the King in the old calendar,
Mm,
and they had a brand new gold vestment. I got to be the
Ooh.
first one to wear it.
wow.
Really wish somebody had taken a picture of it because it was some of that top notch, really really good stuff.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, and yeah. So anyway, it's funny that our friend here, I think Charlie's a Lutheran, talking about late Reformation Day to all who celebrate.
Mm.
Well, in the old calendar, the Feast of Christ the King was put as close to Reformation Day as it could be on a Sunday. It was always the last Sunday of October. So
Sweet.
yeah. So yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, good times. Good times.
That sounds like an awesome mass to celebrate.
It was. It was, and
Was it a high mass?
it was a high mass, no incense.
Whoa.
I haven't learned how to do the incense yet.
Oh, it's tough, I've heard.
Yeah, well, I mean, so if you look at the new mass, right, and the new ritual, it just says the priest incenses the altar. It basically gives you free range to do whatever you want as long as incense is involved. But I've seen the
Uh-huh.
rubrics for the old mass, and it's like
1, 2,
exactly
3, 1, 2,
how to
3.
like exactly what groups of three, exactly where they're supposed to go on the altar, and you have to recite a psalm in Latin while you're doing it.
Mm.
Yes.
And so I'm just not there yet. I don't even have the prayers at the foot of the altar memorized. So yeah, that's a Catholic thing from me. So
That's a really good Catholic thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
solid.
Awesome. What about you, Laura?
Oh no, have I been doing any interesting Catholic things lately? Just saying the rosary.
That's pretty good.
Oh, hi, La Familia Bazzani.
Favorite? Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Mhm. I really though he should meet some other Catholics just for a more broad
More
appeal,
balanced
more balanced diet.
perspective.
Yeah, more of a complete breakfast. Which part of a complete Catholic breakfast are we? Are we
think
like
Gross.
bacon and eggs, or are we like that bowl of cereal on the side, or like a
Oh, we're
glass of
bacon
orange
and
juice?
eggs.
Oh,
We're
okay,
bacon and
good.
eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like farm fresh eggs. Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah. Bacon, eggs,
bacon we
pancakes.
slaughtered ourselves.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Oh,
we've got
Peanut
Sally,
butter.
Sally
you-
Joe, and we've got a prophet in our midst. You guys can hop on whatever you want. You can find the link in the description of the YouTube video or in the chat. So come on in. It doesn't. This isn't just a Catholic chat. It's turned
We'll
into
ask you
that.
about your favorite Catholic thing when you join.
Yeah. Some Protestants have favorite Catholic things. What are you drinking, Father Eric?
Just H2O.
Oh man.
Me too.
Yeah. I thought about like bringing a glass of whiskey or a beer or something, but my
Mhm.
voice is just too weak, and I want to get up early tomorrow. So
Well,
Hmm.
congrats on your high mass. What kind of music did you have?
it was just they don't have an organ at the chapel in the
Perfect.
high school, so it was just mostly just the chants of the mass. Mass number 8, the Mass of the Angels, Misa de
Yeah,
Angelis.
we do that one.
Yeah, because those were the ones that I knew the chants for, and so yes,
That's
yes,
right.
Etc.
I would
Yep.
join in, but latency makes that terrible. So
Yeah, yeah. We're not. We would need some serious next level technology to actually pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was good. And there was a few hymns thrown in there, but mostly just the chants for the mass. So
Nice.
Nice.
tell
And
you
they did a
what,
good job.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Good, good, good.
they've been doing it at the cathedral, since forever.
Mhm.
So
Awesome.
they just had to be displaced into whatever space they had. I don't know. I didn't see. I wasn't looking at them.
So it's in a high school gym now?
Chapel. It's a high school
Oh.
chapel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's a little better.
thankfully a little more dignified than a gym, but
A Catholic high school?
Catholic high school. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not too bad.
Yeah. I really get the sense at this high school that they ran out of money by the time they got to the gym. Um, gym. I said gym, but I meant chapel.
Oh.
That's what I meant to say. Because it's not even big enough for what they could use it at the high school. You couldn't even fit an entire class in there. And the ventilation system is so loud. So Charlie says, chants plus crying babies. Well, how about just getting over the fans? I'm not talking about the screaming fans. I'm just talking about the
I'd be one of them.
yeah.
Screaming Latin Mass fans.
Yeah.
I used to have a Restore the Latin Mass bumper sticker on my laptop.
Nice.
And then you got a new laptop, or you?
I think that was like many, many years ago. That was like a fan thing to do, though. Slap and Restore the Latin Mass bumper stickers on things. But see, you can
Oh, yeah.
tell it was before Summorum Pontificum because it was Restore the Latin Mass.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it was a long time ago.
Oh gosh. Yeah, because I didn't start actually paying attention to Catholic stuff until well after that.
But you were always Catholic, right?
Yeah, I was.
You
But
just didn't pay
when
any
you're in
attention to
high
Catholic.
school,
Were you not paying attention? Were you a priest at the time?
no, I've
Oh.
only been a priest 2 years.
Oh, yes,
Only been
that's
a priest
right.
2 years. I didn't really start paying attention to Catholic stuff, like the wider Catholic world, like
Oh,
things
right. Yeah.
not happening directly in front of me when I entered seminary in 2011.
Oh.
So by then, the Summorum Pontificum, which had liberalized the use of the old missal, had been in place for 4 years. It had quite a lot of momentum behind it already. But when I entered seminary, I didn't actually know how different the old missal was. Like I literally believed that if you celebrated Mass ad orientem and did everything in Latin, it would be identical to what they had before. I had no idea. And look at me now.
Yeah.
Well, so one thing I like better about the new rite is I like the Easter Triduum as it's currently configured. What do you think?
I've never experienced the Easter Triduum in the old rite, so I have a hard time comparing it. Have you
There
ever?
wasn't a Holy Saturday Vigil Mass, right? In the old
Well,
in
it
the old
was a
rite?
vigil mass, but it would be done at like 8 o'clock in the morning, as with all
Oh,
vigils in
yeah.
those days.
Oh, no, I like having it at night and the fire and
Yeah, well,
all
they
that
would
stuff.
do
I think
all of
it's
that.
really
It would
great.
just be at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
But in the Holy Week reforms of 1955, when they had, uh, by that point, Pope Pius XII had changed the discipline on the Eucharistic fast. It was no longer midnight from the night before. It was now a 3-hour Eucharistic fast. So
Mm.
at that point, they actually started doing the Easter Vigil as a nighttime vigil rather than in the morning. So even before Vatican II, that had already shifted a little bit,
Hmm.
Hmm. All
in
right.
case you were wondering.
Something to chew on.
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of the trads were mad about the Holy Week reforms in 1955 because they saw it as a harbinger of things to come. Oh, anyway,
Mm. I guess they were right.
Wow. How did they know?
Charlie Campbell, are all three of you cradle Catholics?
No,
Yes.
Charlie, I'm an ex-Lutheran, so I remember Reformation Day and I can sing A Mighty Fortress.
Oh, what
I am
flavor of
cradle.
Lutheran did you grow up as, Laura?
Missouri Synod.
Missouri Synod. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little impish part of me that whenever I hear Missouri Synod, I think real Lutherans.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, how about the Wisconsin Synod? They're pretty hardcore.
Yeah, but there's hardly any of them,
Oh, okay.
you know?
Yeah, like I had a good experience growing up in the Missouri Synod. It was really good.
Yeah.
They were our Sunday school was excellent. They did a wonderful job of teaching us all the Bible stories.
Hmm.
They made us
That's
memorize
good.
the Ten Commandments. We had to memorize all the books of the Bible. It
Solid.
was, it was solid.
Yeah.
And then we had
Wow.
confirmation class. Confirmation class was more specifically Lutheran stuff, but Sunday school before then was, just like the basic Bible stuff.
ABCs.
Yeah.
All right. We got a question from the good prophet Zacharias. How does RCIA
Okay.
work? Is it pretty standard or is it based on parish? Too late for me to be baptized this coming Easter. Um, well, you might be able to show your local priest your library and how many books you've been reading, and that might convince him that you'd be ready. I don't know. But the way it tends to work in the United States is it kind of follows the academic calendar. Sometime in late August or September, you'll start with classes. And if by February or March people are feeling ready and like they want to go into it, they will get ready to be received into the church. Um, so, might be a bit late for you to be baptized this coming Easter, especially if the priest at your parish you would be looking at doesn't know you. Um, but never hurts to just go in and ask, see what's up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And going through the classes, some of the classes twice, certainly wouldn't hurt anything. And I don't know. I see you post a lot of books that you've bought on the Discord. That would make me think that if you're actually able to read some of them, you'd probably be pretty well equipped to contribute to classroom discussions and those sorts of things.
Hmm.
Yeah, and even though I'm a convert, I didn't go through typical American RCIA, so
What did you
I
do?
wouldn't have much to add there. I was I was at university in Scotland when I was received into the church, and
Ah.
it just wasn't as formal an arrangement as RCIA is in an American diocese.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Same with my
RCI.
marriage prep. There wasn't really like a formal I don't know, what do they call it here? Pre-Cana or something? There wasn't a formal marriage preparation program or anything. The
Yeah.
priest just asked us if we were both baptized and if we were related. And then then
Two
he
things you need to have clear before you get into it.
yeah, and then he made sure we understood what St. Augustine said the three goods of marriage were.
Hmm.
And he told it to us in Latin.
Ah,
Very
yes,
nice.
the bonum prolis, the bronum sacramentum, and the bronum fidelium.
Pretty much, yeah.
Awesome.
It's everybody. All Catholics know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah.
it like didn't take very long, and the equivalent of RCIA was you had to go to this Monday evening thing that the parish priest called Faith Inquiry, and he just had a series of topics he'd go through,
Mhm.
right? Like all the basics. So like the first one would always be like, oh, so God exists, and then yeah, it would kind of build from there, and
I
it
mean,
was
I've got
it was also kind of pegged to the academic year, and then we'd all go out to the pub afterwards and have beer.
Nice.
Bishop Barron's in the voice chat. Oh,
What?
Oh.
okay, Your
Wow.
Excellency.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, can you not see our screen? Charlie Campbell says that
Yeah,
Bishop
no, I
Barron's in
see,
the
but
voice
what
chat.
what does that mean?
I think he's trying to compliment me.
Oh.
Maybe he's trying to join the call. I don't know.
I,
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
starting to wonder if Bishop Barron was like in the YouTube comments.
well, we should be able to see all the YouTube comments here. So
That'd be
anyway,
cool. Say hi.
I mean, he's in my region now, right? He is
Yeah,
now.
Oh
that's
yeah,
right.
he's
I
in
noticed that.
Minneapolis?
No,
Yeah.
he's in Winona, Rochester, not Minneapolis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He has the
The
oddly
funniest-
shaped diocese.
Yep. It was the casual Latin terms.
Oh, the summum bonum, etc.
Now that wasn't casual. That was me explicitly making a joke.
Mm.
Very different. Very different. Yeah. No, he's got the funniest shaped diocese in the United States. It's the bottom two counties all across Minnesota.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just a straight line.
Yeah, and it's just like who drew that map?
Yeah.
You know,
So inconvenient.
right? Because like a friend of mine who was a giant nerd back before they had consecrated the co-cathedral in Rochester, when it was still just the Diocese of Winona, which is on the Wisconsin border, right? The Minnesota-Wisconsin border. He looked up a town in the Winona Diocese that was closer to like 7 other cathedrals in its own.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So it was closer to like the cathedral in Sioux Falls. It was closer to the cathedral in the New
because it
Ulm
was so long and
Diocese.
thin. Yeah.
It was
Oh.
closer to the cathedral in the St. Cloud Diocese. It was closer to the cathedral in the St. Paul, Minneapolis, and like a couple in Iowa.
I think I'm
That it was
closer
to
to
its own.
the cathedral in the Diocese of Metuchen than my own. So, yeah, I guess that happens.
Mhm. All right. I'd like to pitch a Word on Fire album of Gregorian covers of Bob Dylan songs.
Is that Bob Dylan singing Gregorian chant or Gregorian monks singing Bob Dylan?
I hope it's the other way around, because otherwise it would be like, "Who are not to says
Gloria Patri et Filio.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised Prophet Zacharias isn't baptized yet.
Oh man.
I don't know. He seems like a wild heathen to me. We'll get him one of these days.
Yeah.
Get him all watered up and all oiled up and send him out into the world ready to go.
Do they do oil during baptism too?
Well, he'd be confirmed at the same time.
Oh, I see.
As an adult convert, it's baptism, confirmation, Eucharist, all in one night.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
Holy Saturday.
It's Holy Saturday. It's a very holy Saturday for anybody who goes through it.
It took me years to do each of those. Well,
Yeah.
not the first one, I guess.
Your parents got you in there right away.
Yeah.
Well, St. Alphonsus said it was probably a mortal sin if you didn't get your kid baptized within a month of them being born.
Yeah, we did everyone within a week.
Yeah, but infant mortality rates were quite a bit higher then. So, yeah.
That's true.
Speaking of which, my college megachurch did a baptism service today, says Charlie Campbell. Did they use a Trinitarian formula? Leave that in the comments. We're all interested. Or was it the Creator and the Redeemer and the Sanctifier? Because in which case it needs to be done again. Because nobody
And
gets
did they say something like "We baptize you"? Or
Ooh,
did they say,
yeah, that
"I
one's
baptize
also.
you"?
It's got to be I baptize you. Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember that priest in was it
Huh.
Michigan who realized that what was
I
it
was in
now?
seminary with him.
His own wasn't his own baptism invalid or something like that? Because
Yeah, I was
yeah.
in seminary with him.
Okay, yeah. So could you, oh wait, you were in somebody with that guy? Oh,
Father
can you
Matthew
tell the
Hood.
story then?
Wow.
Because people might be interested in that.
I don't want to go over it again.
Oh, sorry.
Mm.
Well, so basically, the short story was that this priest discovered, I don't remember how, was it by looking at his baptismal certificate or something, that whoever baptized him had said, "We baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit," instead of "I baptize you in the name of the Father." So it was invalid, and that meant what? Did that mean he wasn't actually validly ordained, et cetera, and he had to like
Yeah, he had to go
recontact
through.
everyone that he'd ever given sacraments to and redo it or something?
It depends on the sacrament.
Wow.
But yeah. He had to
Oh yeah,
go
because only priests can do certain
baptism,
ones.
confirmation, first Eucharist, diaconate ordination, and priesthood ordination all at once.
Wow.
Wow.
Even faster than St. Ambrose got it.
My goodness.
Yeah,
All
that's
right,
pretty interesting.
LOL. Few things you and I won't like. So it's a diet baptism. Full immersion, name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, done in a nice large black cylinder up on stage while the band is playing.
Oh boy.
The band.
And they're done by a close friend or mentor of the person being baptized. Honestly, I'd probably look at that and say it's perfectly valid. We'd accept it.
Yeah, it sounds like something we accept.
Yeah. And we had the praise and worship band going this morning at my church. So,
Oh, we have one of those now.
yeah. They play their music very well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Father, did you do All Souls Day Latin Mass?
I did not. I had
Oh.
I had a mass for the parish that day, and it was a bit of a busy day already. So
Darn.
Sir Dabs a lot. Does a person who finds out their baptism is valid, does that person need to go to confession for having received and given sacraments after they get baptized or before? So if there isn't any doubt about the validity of the baptism, let's say we have a video, they wouldn't need to go to confession. I wouldn't think that they had actually sinned. Whoever had done the invalid baptism would be the one who needs to go to confession. So yeah, they wouldn't be culpable for and lest we think the sacramental system of the church is overly rigid. We shouldn't believe that just because a sacrament was performed invalidly, that the recipient of the sacrament, who probably was completely innocent of any wrongdoing whatsoever, we shouldn't believe that they thereby would not receive any grace from God, as if they've been completely abandoned. The idea behind the Catholic sacramental system is that God has bound himself to the sacraments. He has promised to make his love and his grace available to us through the sacraments. And so we should have a very high degree of assurance of knowing that we are in communion with God through the sacraments. But he is not thereby bound. His grace is not thereby bound to the sacraments. He is able to spread his grace wherever he wants. So thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Charlie Campbell says, I had to refrain myself from saying welcome to the body of Christ since the folks there think it's just a public faith declaration. Gotta stay undercover. Undercover Lutherans. Got our undercover Lutherans here. You don't have to stay undercover. Anybody who wants in on the chat, you'll find a StreamYard link in the description to the video. And this was never intended to be a specifically Catholic chat. Not that I'm mad that I've got two Catholics here, but anybody is welcome here. This is truly a Catholic chat in that it is universal and being
Everybody
about the whole.
can join.
Yeah, actually, so Father Eric, I've been thinking we Discord Catholics should do a little more talking publicly about why it's good to be Catholic, because I've done a few appearances on YouTube where I talk about things that can be frustrating about being Catholic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so should we talk about what's good or what's frustrating?
No, I think we should talk about what's good.
Oh, okay. I see.
Maybe
I
not
could do both.
right now, although this would be an opportunity to do so. Maybe we should just go for it. What do you think is good about being Catholic, Father Eric?
What do I think is good about being Catholic?
I mean, that's kind of a dumb question.
I got to
Yeah.
sing Dies Irae last week.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why you were asking about the All Souls Day Mass.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's been.
Ah.
I guess
Yeah,
you could still do
well-
it in the modern liturgy as a hymn, but it wouldn't be
The
in the same
liturgy,
place
if
as it
it's-
was.
The liturgy, if it is done with care and skill, is very great.
Yeah.
However, it can be a source of suffering as well. But when done well, the liturgy is a great thing about being Catholic.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. But we got a recording of it. I'll actually put it in the Discord.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, something I really appreciate is I had a classmate from Nigeria, right? So he had to deal with the culture shock. He had to deal with coming across um, all of these new American things. But when we got into classes, when we got into liturgy, and we were praying together, it's like everything was there already. He knew the mass. He was well catechized and like had gone through 4 years of college seminary in Nigeria. He knew his stuff. He was on board with what we were doing. And so it's like even across the Atlantic Ocean and across a decent sized culture gap, we were already in communion. And I thought that was pretty great.
Yeah, I really
that's
like
pretty
that
cool.
too. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can go anywhere in the world and just fit right in.
Sir Dabs a lot. I'm Orthodox. Okay, cool. And a Catholic priest offered a fellow Orthodox person at my parish communion when they were visiting sick family at the hospital. Is it okay for a Catholic priest to give Orthodox communion? Well, according to the statement put out by the bishops in the United States, yes. From our point of view, that our theology of the Eucharist and our understanding of the priesthood are close enough where we do not object to an Orthodox person approaching us for communion. So I'd probably give them a little instruction on how we do it here because it's a little different in the Roman Rite versus the Divine Liturgy of St. John Chrysostom, let's say. Now, my understanding is that your average Orthodox bishop will tell his people not to approach Catholics for communion. So that's part of it. But they might make an exception if, let's say, you were traveling, you were in a hospital, there's no Orthodox priest nearby. But that's an Orthodox side of the equation kind of question. From my part, we generally it's considered close enough where we would be happy to share communion. Joseph, it's good that you included that, Father, about the sacraments. And now that it's a Jacob chat, God isn't a vending machine. He's able to spread his grace wherever he wants. Yeah. Sometimes I hear PVK talk about, the providence of God and his supremacy and all of that. And he talks about it as if it was a specifically Calvinist thing. And I'm like, Calvinists don't have a corner on the providence of God market. Like we're in that market too, And if I like the thing I end up saying the most to people is like, trust God. God's got a plan. God's in charge here, and we're not. And thank God for that. Yeah. My bishop makes no concession for an Orthodox Christian to commune at a Catholic Mass. I was just curious to understand your side of the issue. Okay, that's what I thought. So I hope everything was hunky dory there with your friend. And maybe the Orthodox person didn't accept communion, which is fine. You really ought to respect your own beliefs and respect your own conscience. Like when I was out at the Thunder Bay Sunday morning service, they had an open table, and I didn't go up and receive communion because we wouldn't at a Protestant church. And that was the first time I'd ever seen anybody serve communion in plastic cups.
Oh,
I'd never seen that before. Like the simplest vessel I'd ever seen communion given in was pewter,
Huh.
which is
So-
kind of like, you shouldn't be using that. But
At the Lutheran church where I grew up, we sometimes had a common chalice at communion time, and everybody always receives under both forms. That's important in the Lutheran church.
mhm. Yeah, that
And-
was an important point. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes we had a common chalice, and sometimes we had like a tray full of little cups that they would walk around with because people felt like that was more hygienic. And they'd be like little. I assume they were little glass cups, but it's also possible that they were just very hard plastic. Yeah.
I mean,
But the tray
you
was kind of shiny and fancy, so that made it a little fancier.
spruced it up a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
what's better, pewter or plastic?
Mm.
Pewter? Pewter's at least durable, but gold or silver, bro. Come on.
Yeah,
Like, how often do you have to buy chalices? Spend some money on
right.
it.
They don't usually wear out very easily if they're gold.
Yeah. I mean, replating them does get a little expensive, but
Okay, so what else is good about being Catholic? I think if anyone asked me, especially if any other Christian asked me why I am Catholic, I guess I think my number one answer would be the sacraments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that has to be our number one answer.
Yeah.
Source and summit of our faith and all that.
Mm-hmm. Not a Rabbi Yosef saying that the Kaddish, the blessing of wine, should be done in a nicer cup, often silver. Very cool.
Thank
Very
you,
cool.
Joseph.
Got to have nice things for our Lord. I think about oh gosh, the prophet's name escapes me, but it's a post-exilic prophet, and he's berating the people for not rebuilding the temple.
Joseph will know.
I know Yosef will know. It makes me
Who is it,
sad
Joseph?
that I can't remember it because I studied this. I'm
Oh,
a
geez.
scholar.
I haven't studied this, so
Yeah, no,
know.
you guys are fine. You guys are fine. Anyway, basically says, go ahead, like get the temple built, guys. This is important.
It's not Nehemiah, is it?
No, that's a about or Zechariah. Maybe it was Zechariah. Yeah.
huh.
In Orthodox Eucharistic theology, we do not believe it is possible for the chalice we commune from to give COVID or any disease. What is the Catholic understanding?
Mhm.
Well, I think if the chalice is made of silver, maybe that's possible.
Does silver have antibiotic properties?
Yes.
So they say, yeah.
Oh,
Although in terms of Catholic theology, though, Father, is there any belief that you wouldn't be able to get a disease from communion? I don't think there is.
I don't think so.
that would be, frankly, that would be a pious sentiment I've heard among
Mm.
many people, right? Like just very devout people, especially at the beginning of COVID, when
Mhm.
we stopped distributing the chalice. We'd be like, I don't believe that and like, dang it all, sometimes the experts are wrong and the folk are
Hmm.
right. So I wouldn't rule it out. Because we have such a sophisticated and developed theology of the Eucharist, whereby we could say that the accidents, the physical properties of the wine remain, while the true spiritual identity of the wine is no longer wine, but is the blood of Christ. I know that wine also has a disinfecting
Yeah.
property because of the alcohol in there, and the physical properties of alcohol would remain in the Eucharistic species. So I don't worry myself all that much about it. Yeah. Uh-oh.
It seems possible.
Thinking
Oh
of
boy.
things that were possible.
A new challenger has entered the room.
I just dropped
That
in
means
to say
that
hello.
means Wisconsin is dominating this chat right now.
Booyah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Go
drop in to say
Packers.
hello and while I'm having a smoke break.
Yeah, burning some incense for our Lord, huh?
Sorry to
Oh
interrupt.
man.
Please continue.
I was just finishing up a little bit of something. Charlie
Chad,
Campbell
do you-
says,
Oh yeah. Go on.
did someone say handy plastic communion kits with a wafer plastic sealed to a teaspoon of wine for quick distribution? No one said that, ever.
Oh man. Oh, moving on quickly. Chad, what's your favorite Catholic thing?
Yeah.
I think
Do you go to a Lutheran church, Chad?
I do. I go to a Lutheran church.
Yeah, but you're allowed to have a favorite Catholic thing too, though, if you want.
I have a lot of.
We'll allow it.
Hmm.
I recently tripped over St. John Climacus. I think that's some pretty intense stuff. I like the Saints. So I also, every time I've stepped into a beautiful church, I've basically been walloped by a 2x4 of being stunned by the visual effect. And I think there's something very powerful about that.
Yeah, St. Joseph's
Yeah.
Basilica is great, right?
Mm-hmm. So is
I love that place.
Saint Stanislaus.
Yeah, I haven't been in there yet, but I want to go. They were having the Latin Mass in there. I don't know if they still do.
Yeah,
Hmm.
The Polish really know how to do a nice church.
yes,
Mm.
they do.
Like I know the Gothic was invented in France, but I think the Polish perfected it. It's my opinion.
They
I gotta
Ain't-
know more about this.
that
Have
they
you been to Germany, Father Eric?
I have not. I have not. Maybe the
They got some
Germans have
good
also.
churches too.
Are, I mean, anybody who's trying should be able to come up with a good church. But
another thing I think I honestly don't even know why I'm not Catholic, to be quite honest. I think it's ridiculous, actually, the more I think about it.
Hmm.
But
I like that sentiment.
I,
Well, I'll go to Mass with you anytime, Chad. We can just meet up somewhere. So Ethan B says that the Rosary is kosher for Lutherans, or that he heard that it was. Nobody in
I
my
think so.
group would have said the Rosary. We all would have found it creepy. But I can't speak
Really?
for all Lutherans. Oh yeah.
I have a friend who's studying to be a Lutheran pastor, and he said they have very similar Marian ideology, or what is it, theology, to Catholics.
We didn't at all.
Oh, different Lutheran
No.
maybe.
We were very eager to never pay any attention to our Blessed Mother.
Wow. Well, we live in New Jersey, so maybe it's different.
I also like the idea of confession, partly because of my practice of the 12 steps. But I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I think the reason why we stay at the church that we are is because it's close to home, and we wanted to submit to trying to be a part of a community. And they seem to they've been around for quite a while, not as long as the Catholic Church, obviously. There's like we had a sermon put out the other day. We had our synod secretary was there as our intern pastor because our pastor was on vacation, and she was going on about it was Reformation Day, and she was talking about the reasons why Luther and Reformation. And I was thinking that it was a very unnuanced explanation. I thought that there was. I thought it was. I don't know. I just thought all I kept thinking was, yeah, this protest should probably end, and we can get on to bigger, better things. But I honestly don't. At the end of the day, don't care that. I don't put much weight behind the idea that I'm in a Lutheran church. I think it's all kind of ridiculous, to be quite honest. I really don't know why I'm not Catholic. No, I am not Orthodox because that one is like an hour away. So I'm not going to go to a church.
Well, you and I should
Bro.
meet and go to mass sometime. You can bring your wife. It'll be fun.
Well, she grew up Catholic. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Plot thickens.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All sorts of people grew up Catholic.
I did.
But I think God loves me either way. So that's probably
I
very.
think you're right.
It does.
But you mentioned confession. Like confession, I think is an underrated sacrament. Confession's really great.
You know, just this last week, I did a confession of 30 years,
Mm.
and
Like someone had been away for 30 years?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and like visibly, I saw like as if I could almost see the weight just being lifted off,
Mm.
right? And that's the power of the sacramental system, and I think they got that in Orthodoxy too. Just this assurance that that I'm a mediator, that I could somehow mediate that forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, as a a priest who's beset by weakness myself, in need of the sacrament myself, and it's just pretty special to be a part of that. And I went and visited the person the next day, and they still had that peace on their face, which was not there when I saw them at first. So
Mm.
we'll just praise God, praise
So
God.
Yeah.
For sure.
The alcoholics got it right somehow.
Yeah, I mean, wasn't there a Catholic priest who was like a consultant in the early formation days?
Yeah, I mean there's an Episcopal guy. His name was
Oh,
Sam Shoemaker, um, Episcopalian or something. I don't know. But then there was Father Ed Dowling, who was Bill Wilson's spiritual advisor, who came just after the formation of AA, and he said that it wasn't until he was a Jesuit priest out of St. Louis,
mhm.
and I've heard other people. He wasn't alcoholic, but what he did say was, it wasn't until I came to AA where I really saw the power of God. So
Mm.
that's an interesting thing to say for a guy who's a Jesuit priest. I've heard other priests, recovered alcoholic priests, share their story, and they said it wasn't until I recovered in Alcoholics Anonymous where I went from having a working relationship with God to a personal relationship with God.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think if you ever meet a good priest, somebody who's really humble and somebody who's really in love with God, it's because they've experienced their own shortcomings and have had that met by God's mercy.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And that's why they're a priest, and that's why they're a priest the way that they are a priest, right? It's not a matter of I'm a Superman and I have the authority to do this because I'm so great. Um, and it's really funny in the lives of some of these saints, right? Like I think of my man Saint John Vianney,
Hmm.
who lived a very innocent life by any kind of worldly metric, right? Grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere in France. Was always a pious child. He never wandered. He never would have missed a Sunday mass his entire life, I'm sure. Um, and then, he gets to be in like his mid 50s, his mid 60s. He's spending 12 to 16 hours a day in the confessional. Um, People are coming to him from all over. And he thinks that what he needs to do is to just go to a monastery and weep over his poor sinful life. Like that's who he is. Meanwhile, this guy is like reading people's souls in the confessional, and that's what he thinks of himself.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like something like Mother Teresa was talking about. She had some pretty interesting things to say about her, what she felt was worthy. She felt worthless, and
Mm-hmm.
and like those things are very relatable for sure. I love the saints. Why
Mm-hmm.
am I not, dude? Why am I not a Catholic?
That's your business. I mean, it's kind of my business too because you're making it my business. But I'm not. I've always promised I wasn't going to be a high pressure salesman in these sorts of things.
You know, sometimes I think, I'll go to an AA meeting and I think this is the dumbest AA meeting I've ever been to. Nobody's staying sober, and these people are, maybe they're a little higher on their horse or whatever. And then I think, well, God has certainly placed me here for a reason. And so maybe that's why I'm not Catholic. Maybe there needs to be other people in these other places that are actually practicing the surrender of the protest. I don't know. All I know is I'm grateful that, whatever this little corner of the internet is coalesced, and we're able to kind of find each other and share our experiences and try and encourage each other to do whatever it is that we're doing. And I'm grateful for that. So thanks for letting me speak, and I'm grateful that you're on here doing this thing, and I hope to see you on here more. It's great to see you guys. I'm gonna clock out.
Take care, Chad.
See ya.
Yeah,
That's nice.
he's a good
Why
dude.
is Chad not a Catholic, huh? We're going to have to start asking that more often and remind him
Yeah.
that we don't know the answer yet.
Demand an inquiry. Call your Senator to Jay. Why is Chad the alcoholic not a Catholic? Oh, we're gonna get a website, and we're gonna get a YouTube channel, and we're just gonna demand answers.
Sounds like calling an inquisitor to me.
Maybe
Hmm.
I could be the Inquisitor.
So
Ooh.
speaking of Inquisitors, I almost joined the Dominicans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Wow.
ones?
The Dominican Sisters of St. Joseph in Lymington, Hampshire.
Oh, Hampshire or New Hampshire?
Hampshire. Old Hampshire.
Old Hampshire, over in the old country.
Yes.
Interesting. I don't know a daggone thing about them.
They're very good.
They're very good. All right.
Yeah.
There's still some of that Catholicism in England. It ain't all dead.
No.
Some good stuff
yeah.
there. Yeah. Like that was like a model Catholic country back in the day.
Hmm.
How long ago?
Before the Reformation.
Oh.
It's like they had monasteries everywhere. They had like if you ever hop on the symbolic world universal history bandwagon, and like hear those guys talk about like the old Western European tradition. Like most of the time they talk about things they were doing in England. Like how they would do Holy Week in England and all of that, which sounds really cool. Like I wish we had some of that, but we live in America and not England, so
I can't do that.
we
I
just
guess.
gotta deal with what we got.
Yeah, well, so St. Dominic's Priory in Lymington, Hants is in the New Forest, which is quite lovely. And there are like wild ponies wandering around, and it's bucolic and lovely.
Yes, all the stuff that J.R.R. Tolkien loved.
Yes.
He based the Shire on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Shire. Their neighbors love them too. They have like farmers on either side of them who are very fond of them.
Yeah, like when you got a good set of nuns, people just love them, and they're very lovable. So yeah, it all fits.
Yeah, a lot of nuns are really great.
Now, did you ever actually get into the novitiate, Laura?
No, I was scheduled to enter, and I would have been in the novitiate. I had an entry date. It was going to be the Feast of St. Dominic in 2000. Probably 2002. I think that's in August.
Yeah, August 8th. My ordination date.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
It was supposed to be June 6th, the Feast of St. Norbert, but that got changed.
Huh. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, so that's when I was scheduled to enter, but then I didn't.
I'm sure your children are very happy about that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. You know how sometimes teenagers aren't always that happy to be alive.
Yeah. Speaking of
Oh, really?
teenagers.
Yeah, Sometimes they're like, you should have made a different decision. Then I wouldn't have to be alive right now.
He'll get over it. Speaking
Modern
of
teenagers.
teenagers, Charlie Campbell is pointing out that he was born in 2002. I'm not
That's
sure what you
cool.
mean
Oh,
by that,
really?
Charlie.
He just means I'm really old. That's okay.
Is that why he's in college?
Yeah, he'd be about 22 years old.
Yeah.
No,
That's,
he'd be 20.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm so old.
You're not as old as me.
Well, I guess.
You're
I
not
was
as old
born
as
in
my
Not
dad.
yet.
I was born in 1977.
Hopefully I get there one day.
You're like smack dab between my parents and my oldest brother, Laura.
Ah.
Huh.
Oh,
Good times though. Late 70s, early 80s.
I
Good time.
hadn't heard that before.
What?
The
Really?
last time I heard someone talk about the 70s, they said, "Oh yeah, the 70s were not kind to people."
Oh. Oh, they were okay for me, but I only experienced 3 years of them though.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
you didn't have to worry about crushing inflation as a 3-year-old.
No, I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah. Or Paul
Yeah.
Blocker setting the interest rates to 20%.
No.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
think my older brother enjoyed having long hair and a shag-lined guitar case, so he dug the 70s too.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Awesome. Oh, hey, I'm pretty close to Sir Dabs a lot. He was born in 1999. I'm like slightly older than these people.
Yeah, so I just turned 45 a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
93 till infinity. I am older than Prophet Zacharias, baby.
What does 93 till infinity mean?
Means that Prophet Zacharias is never going to die, but he didn't exist
Well, he better
forever.
not, because he's not baptized.
Oh, he was
Oh,
born in
gosh, yeah.
93. Oh, okay. I thought he meant that he is 93 years old and will remain 93 forever.
He would be the dankest 93-year-old on the planet.
Oh, man.
Oh, with age comes wisdom, Laura. Yes. Yes.
Probably.
Probably.
Yeah, no, I think that's true.
You don't strike me as the proverbial fool, so
Yeah, I'm less hot-headed than I once was.
yeah,
Hmm
it's good.
Mm.
It's
What
good.
age were you when you were slapping Latin Mass stickers on your laptops?
I would have been about 23.
Oh, I've missed
That's
my
a
deadline.
good age to be just a little bit provocative and
Mm.
like kind of go
Mhm.
after people,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know where I was.
I mean,
right?
it's not, or maybe it's
Should
not a
I?
good age to be doing it, but it's an age when people do it, and it's kind of
okay.
to be
Well,
expected.
I'm not saying you have to do it, right?
Oh,
Because
Right.
okay.
there are
I mean,
plenty of people
yeah.
who are not there are plenty of people who are not temperamentally inclined towards just arguing with people constantly. But when
I
I was
was
23, I was in the seminary, and you know what we did with each other constantly?
argued.
We argued about stinking everything. Right.
Yeah.
And it
Mm.
was
I was,
good and it was healthy and it was all contained inside the seminary. So the people of God didn't have to deal with it.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I was a highly argumentative young adult, and actually, it was probably good that I didn't go into that convent because I think I would have been highly argumentative, and I probably would have created division. It would have been a big problem.
They know how to deal
So,
with that in a good novitiate.
oh, I wonder what they would have done to me.
They would have just smacked you into obedience and say, "These are the lines we've drawn, and you, novice, are not going to rewrite them. You just got here."
Yeah,
Mm.
But they
maybe.
would have done it
Probably
in
would.
that super nice nun way where you're being chastised, and it's like being chastised with foam bullets or something.
Hmm.
It hurts so much.
93 till infinity is a rap song and his age.
Oh.
Yes, we have some real connoisseurs of rap in the comment section and not on the video.
Right.
I'm surprised there's 93-year-olds doing rap.
I don't think that's what that means, but you know what? New headcanon. The person who wrote 93, that's actually the rapper's name is 93 to infinity.
Yeah.
New headcanon.
Oh, man.
Charlie Campbell does not have a favorite Wagner opera.
Oh,
Uh,
but Charlie told me he likes Wagner better than Verdi, probably, and now he's telling us he doesn't have a favorite Wagner opera. I don't know, man.
another
Gotta
inquiry.
commit. Gotta
Demand
commit to
answers.
something. I can tell you my favorite Wagner opera. It's The Flying Dutchman for sure.
Uh-huh.
Dutchman.
Very nice. What about your favorite Wagner opera?
I don't think there's anyone named Wagner who wrote operas.
Oh, all right.
But I was interested in why Jordan Peterson liked Die Meistersinger so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because it shows us the fundamental nature of the hierarchy.
Well, it kind of does, I guess, right? Like I've been thinking about it. It has some themes that would appeal to him, but so do a lot of operas. So I wonder why he zeroed in
that's
on
the
that
one he
one. But I
went
think it's
to.
just because I think it's probably just because he saw it recently and maybe he hasn't seen a lot of operas, so he was just impressed. But yeah, but it doesn't. It has some things that would appeal to him. It's got it's partly a meditation on what you could call order versus chaos. Oh, he just knows the styles. Okay.
Kid's 19. I'm not gonna rake him over the coals for this one,
Okay.
especially if he doesn't live in an area where they're having a great opera every other weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
would.
so basically, Charlie likes big orchestras and lush orchestration and a cinematic kind of sound. Maybe maybe that's what he's telling us.
I don't
Oh,
even know these things about opera, so I probably should at this age.
Oh, okay, that's why JP likes Wagner. That's the easy answer. Okay, I was gonna say, so Meistersinger has a bit of a balance between order and chaos because the young guy who is the main character, Walter von Stolzing, comes to Nuremberg to become a master singer, and there's this guild of master singers there, right? And they
Mhm.
have all these rules about how to sing well, and they have these sessions where people get judged and they can advance up the ranks. And if you make an error in singing, they'll mark down that you made an error, and if you make X number of errors, you can't advance, right? And they have designated tunes, and the tunes have names, and so you have to like learn various tunes. You have to learn how to perform them correctly. Like very organized. And then this kind of wild child from out of town comes in and wants to rise to the top of the guild, but uh he's too chaotic. Right? His music comes from the heart. It's kind of spontaneous, but it doesn't fit into the scheme at all, right? And then so anyway, there's someone in the guild who is too rigid, and then there's this outside guy who is too chaotic. The too chaotic guy gets taught how to be more organized. The too rigid guy gets humiliated because he's not adaptable at all and he's too set in his ways. And so you can kind of see how that would appeal to Peterson.
all right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Charlie Campbell reports that Ames, Iowa, does not have an awesome opera scene.
But
Very
Peter
tragic.
Shickley's from Ames, Iowa.
Right, and then he probably moved to New York, didn't he?
Well, maybe, but growing up in Ames, Iowa is no excuse for not knowing a lot about classical music. Is the point I'm making.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then he's a brass player. I guess
Oh, okay.
that so if you actually know stuff about opera,
Mhm.
that
Yeah. That makes sense.
I thought don't they just sing in opera?
well, yeah, but there's
There's an
an
orchestra.
orchestra.
Oh,
It's not
yes,
like
that's right.
barbershop where you have to. It's all voice.
Yeah, I remember
Oh,
now.
and a friend of mine's got me roped into a little barbershop thing for like a Christmas dinner theater. I'm super pumped. I haven't done barbershop in years. It's the best.
Oh, are you singing?
Yeah. No, I used
Ooh,
to
Oh,
do it
that's
all
cool.
the time in high school. I just don't now, but I want to. It's awesome.
Oh,
When
yeah.
when you really get those chords to sing, man,
Mm-hmm.
and like you got all the overtones going up to infinity in there. Boom.
Yeah.
That's
I was
life
in
right
a
there.
local production of The Music Man in
Oh, yeah.
20
So if
yeah, in 2019, right before COVID, and
Mhm.
yeah, we had some good guys to play the barbershop roles. It was fun.
Light a rose, I'm home again, rose without a sweetheart.
Yep.
But just singing the bass parts is really lame because you don't have the melody there. Yeah. Oh man. Prophet Zacharias was complimenting my impressions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Charlie Campbell wants to develop his Peterson impression, so we'll see about that. We'll eagerly await it.
I don't think a woman can do a Peterson impression.
Maybe
so
a very
I'm not-
skilled one could, but
I'm not even gonna try.
yeah. You could do the Kathy Newman part.
Speaking of women, I gotta fix my hair. Okay.
Yeah. You know, it was outrageously windy today in Fargo,
Yeah.
and I kept on joking with people that I was worried I was going to have a bad hair day.
That's a good joke.
That's a good joke.
It was extremely windy here yesterday, so I guess you got our wind. Our wind from yesterday went over to you.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad even by Fargo standards, so that's how you
Ah.
know it's crazy, crazy windy.
How windy was it in New Jersey today, Andrew K?
I don't think there was any wind in New Jersey today.
Wow.
There was some rain, but that's about it. Although I'm now more concerned about wind and wearing hats because I got a haircut that I wear hair gel for now. So it's like, can I put a hat on or will it ruin everything? You know? And wind.
Yeah.
The world is so much scarier now.
You need to switch to that 10 rating hair gel there.
Oh yeah.
Like don't they still? I used to do hair gel. I could find some pictures from high school, but like I used to use like the 10 rating hair gel, and it would just be like kind of solid, you know, all the way back there.
Yeah. No, I don't have 10, but I've got. It's pretty good, I think. Maybe I could wear a hat. I haven't tried it yet. I'm gonna need to know that for winter. Yep.
We might have the most estuary possible thing here: a barbershop quartet with a Jew, a Catholic priest, an atheist, and a Pentecostal, and they're absolutely killing Coney Island, baby.
That would be great. That'd be great. We need to make that happen.
So now we just need an
Can
atheist
Jacob
and a
can Jacob sing
Pentecostal.
barbershop or Joseph?
I guess we'll have to find out. Switch out the atheist with the Byzantine chanter, and you've got something. That's right. We can go with non-theists, but no atheists.
Yeah.
Apparently, we've got a new word for, you know, Neoplatonic conception of God, and it's just non-theist now instead of theist. Anyway,
yeah.
Didn't Plato? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not
Okay.
gonna
Well,
win myself
Joseph
with
can.
that.
If Joseph can sing, you can learn him how to do barbershop.
We got the Catholic priest and the Jewish person. Plenty of Orthodox around. We just need a Pentecostal. I guess we'll have to pray to the Holy Spirit to send one.
John might be enough of a Pentecostal. John from Madison.
Oh yeah. He grew up that way.
Yeah.
I remember seeing one of his videos on Randos United.
I bet he can sing.
He could probably.
He seems like the kind of person who'd.
Well, that's like all the Pentecostals have is singing for their
Yeah.
liturgy.
Yeah.
Like singing and falling, you know.
Yeah.
From what I've
back
seen.
up and singing.
Yeah. So he can do the big finish at the end of every barbershop song. He can fall down at the end.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, this sounds like Peterson.
Prophet Zacharias, and I mean, what else have you got, huh? I mean, really? Because what the hell do you know? You're just some kid trying to make it in the world.
Oh man. It's hard.
We could somehow shoehorn Sam into the charismatic Pentecostal category. Maybe. I think so.
Sam Adams?
Sam Adams, yeah.
Well,
He's a
maybe.
musician. He plays the guitar.
Yeah, he does play the guitar in a church.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
it's Pentecostal
a
enough.
Trinitarian church, because he doesn't want to drive an hour to find a Unitarian church,
Yeah.
which is just. I'm glad I don't have those problems. Like
So
maybe if you're in the
Chicago
middle of
Discord. Sorry, I was gonna say Chicago Discord people are going to Red Lobster tomorrow, and apparently Sam is not coming.
Wow.
drama, or maybe his
Drama.
wife just had a baby.
Well, maybe, although it's actually been a few months.
I don't know. Aren't they kind of like a lot to deal with for a while, especially once you get up to 3 of them running around in the house?
Yeah.
You know more about this than I do, so I'm like, you're the authority here.
Well, I won't get involved in whether that's the reason. If
Okay.
that's the reason, he should probably stay home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I might need to know that kind of thing one day.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We still got to find Andrew a lady. So.
Oh, a New
Hmm.
Jersey lady.
I mean, I might have
No.
found one, but
Hmm.
we'll see what happens, you know.
Is it Holy Mother Church? Is she the lady?
No, I did think about that, but no.
Okay.
Although it's never certain, I guess, right?
Well, once you're married, it's usually pretty certain.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yes, but
We're
I
married
mean,
with a few kids.
currently, that at that point, yes, it would be
Or
pretty certain.
when you're dead, maybe then it would also be pretty certain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are ways to certainty. Not
Yeah.
many, but there are ways. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean,
My 4th year of seminary, I was praying. I was praying with Isaiah chapter 35. He's talking about the water bubbling up in the desert, and the arid ground becoming a fruitful land, and a holy way being there. And I just had this sense that he was talking about a renewal in the church, even at our time, not just a prophecy for thousands of years ago. Um, and then the Lord just kind of said, "Yep, and you're going to be a part of that as a priest." And then, like, kind of from that moment on, after 4 years of seminary, I'm kind of like,
yeah,
well, there we have it.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
yeah.
So
Well, 'cause
anyway,
seminary is a place of discernment too, right?
yeah. So like my first 3 years of seminary, I was kind of on the fence for a while, and now I'm here. So
Yeah,
far.
yeah. Well, I kind of figured I wasn't able to like find anyone I was interested in, so I was like, hey, why don't I think about being a priest? And then I found someone I was interested in, so
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
pretty common story right there.
Yeah, I think something kind of like that happened to me, actually.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
Well, I mean, it was a lot longer of a process than that, but yeah.
Yeah, if God needs you, he'll get you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what my mom always says.
Don't
Yeah.
worry. That's what I tell any guy who's thinking about the seminaries. Don't worry about it. I wasted a whole bunch of energy worrying about it when I was in high school.
Worrying
And,
about it?
and I guess I probably just had to pass through that, right? Like as a stage. But
Being worried that you'd be a priest?
yeah, right? Because God would call me to that which I dread the most and was most likely to make me miserable, right?
Oh,
It
yes,
was
of
perfectly
course.
logical, rational, and theological.
Of course he would do that, yeah.
Yeah, because that's the sort of God he is. He tricks you into things. He calls you to missions that you're utterly unequipped for, and
Impossible to do.
wants us to be miserable. That's the God we worship.
I think I felt like that for a while, which is how I
It
ended
can
up not
seem
being
that
in
way
church for 8 years.
sometimes.
Yeah, it did. It seemed that way to me for a while.
Yeah.
Things aren't going my way. Maybe I didn't do difficult enough things and
Well,
hurt myself enough.
Well,
it's more like, I don't know. I'll talk about my experience, but it was more like there was something inside of me, like there's a little part of me that didn't trust God properly, that needed to be ironed out by worrying about it until I realized that worrying about it was dumb.
Interesting.
And maybe God treats me that way and doesn't treat people that way in other situations. So
I think he
So-
does treat different people differently.
Yeah, and praise God for that.
The interesting thing is you were so worried about being a priest, and now you are one.
Yeah, right? And it's completely different than what I imagined it would be.
I imagine, yeah.
You know? Like, it's pretty great. There's a lot of good things going on. I'm happy to do this, you know? I'm sure I'm going to have bad days and bad weeks and that sort of thing, but, you know, goodness, like, I hear everybody talk, and it's like, well, every once in a while, everybody has really bad things happen to them.
Yeah.
And some people, it happens to them constantly, it seems, and there's just no getting around that, you know? It's not like I've got anything special.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good.
I don't know. We'll see what the future has coming, though.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that that poll that like I don't know, something like 5,000 American priests took?
I did
survey?
see that.
Yeah.
Where was it?
It was put out by the was it University of Georgetown? I can't remember who put it out. It's in the Catholic channel probably 2 weeks back.
Okay.
But like the number one thing that priests are afraid of, and this made perfect sense to me when I took the survey. Full disclosure, and when I saw the results, is being falsely accused of abusing a child.
Yeah,
Because
that's no surprise.
That's an automatic suspension until all investigations are cleared. The church will not investigate at the same time uh, as the civil investigations going on. So it's like a year and a half of you just being in limbo.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
you can't do anything. You can't say mass publicly. You can't function in a parish. You can't go around dressed as a priest. You're not going to be thrown out on the street. You'd still have a right to sustenance from the church. They got to put you up somewhere and feed you. But if you got to hire lawyers, you know, that's a whole bunch of money out the window. It's just.
Hey, do you remember that news story about Father George Rutler a few years ago? Yeah, and apparently it turned out to be a bogus accusation, right? But that wasn't reported as much as the original accusation was reported.
Yeah, that's another thing. Thing. It's a permanent black mark on your record that the media is not in any hurry to wash away. So yeah, you know, if that happens to me, I might not be so cheerful.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, it's crazy. But I guess I don't know. Is that like the safest thing to do?
Well, that was the plan that the bishops came up with after the revolutions of 2002, spearheaded by the wise and discerning leadership of one Ted McCarrick. So you tell me.
I keep hearing wise and discerning leadership of bishops from priests. Oh, gosh.
So my bishop is Jerome Listecki.
Wasn't there like a congressman from Illinois who was a Listecki too?
I don't know.
He was like a Catholic pro-life Democrat, which doesn't sound like fun, but if you can pull it off.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't know anything about your bishop, which is probably good news. Charlie Campbell's roommate eats microwave oatmeal by pulling the packet dry into his mouth. Thoughts?
Does he microwave it first?
It's that's like instant oatmeal, right? It's the really thin slices of oat.
Yeah,
so it's probably fine.
I would feel like that would be like an entire packet of saltine crackers. Like, you ever try to eat just a bunch of saltine crackers?
Yeah. So if I were going to do that, I would make like a really hot cup of tea.
Oh, it's Carlos.
And I would and I'd like alternate sprinkling the oats into my mouth and taking sips of really hot tea. Oh, hi Carlos. Carlos in the Philippines?
Carlos in the Philippines. It's probably like
Aw.
5 a.m. there.
Hello, Carlos.
Hello, Carlos.
The brown paper packs, dry,
Yeah.
cold, just
Yeah,
straight into
but
the
right,
mouth.
I'd take it with tea, and then it would be like the tea was kind of cooking the oatmeal as it went down.
Oh yeah, I
That
think they come with
sounds like it
sugar
would be
too.
doable, Laura.
Yeah.
But
Or
that's
you
not
know what?
Charlie's.
You could
That's
put
not what
he's
Charlie's
doing.
roommate does, though.
you could take the packet of oatmeal and dump it into your cup of tea, and then slurp
Mhm.
that.
You could have green tea, maple syrup, brown sugar, oatmeal.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's 11 a.m. actually. Well, shouldn't you be working then?
Wait, is it 11 a.m. on Monday?
It's
Yeah, he's on the other side of the
Probably.
international date line.
Mm.
I'm really bad at time zones, so
I
like
thought
seriously,
Greenwich
don't
was
travel
Still
with
yesterday here, Carlos.
me. Why not just mix the hot water with the oats?
Well, that's true. Yeah. Good
yeah,
point.
I think all of us, Charlie, to answer your question, are of the opinion that what your friend is doing is very strange, and we would not do it.
Yeah, but but Father, is it intrinsically immoral? Probably not.
No.
Is it a
that's-
sin? Do I
does
have to
not
go to
matter. It does
confession?
not matter for the confessional unless he notices that it's causing him health problems, and he continues to do it.
Oh,
Wow.
That would be the only circumstances in which I would sit there and say,
wow. What? How many foods does that apply to? Like, can I eat potato chips, or do I have to go to the confessional every time I eat potato chips?
Well, I don't think
Because like I don't notice that they're causing me health problems, but like objectively they are, right?
Well, I mean, you that would come under, I think, gluttony,
Mm-hmm.
regular old
potato
gluttony,
chips.
which, as St. Thomas Aquinas says, almost never rises to the level of mortal sin. So,
Oh, that's pretty good.
so you could confess it, but it wouldn't be strictly required.
Oh,
Hmm.
It would be a pious
Interesting.
confession, not a necessary one, which I still recommend once a month.
yes, that's a good idea.
So how often do you go to confession?
Once a month, or as often as necessary. The same rule I give to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So if you commit mortal sin every day,
Every
should be
day you go to
every
confession,
day.
you and me are going to become best friends. I'm going to hear.
Oh my goodness.
So, is there anything interesting you could tell us about confession?
You might find it interesting that it's actually not that interesting. It's kind of boring
Yeah.
most of the time.
That's what I hear.
Wow.
Because most of the time, like you get those really great moments, those really great moments where you can really just help somebody. But most of the time, it's just sort of, yeah. Remember, God loves you. God loves you. He really does. Say your prayers. And your penance is 5 Hail Marys. Now make your act of contrition. And you
Yeah.
could just kind of just run on that for a while. And so when you got like 2 hours of that, you're just sort of like, "Argh." Like after, I don't know
Wow.
how Padre Pio and John Vianney did it. Oh, we got a theological
It
question
really
here.
sounds like the most emotional thing ever.
Yeah.
If
Does
you're
confession
planning
work
it.
if you're planning to do mortal sins every day? So part of the penitence part of the confession process, if it's going to be a valid confession, is a firm purpose of amendment. So you've got to be able to say, I'm at least going to try and stop before you can be absolved. If you've got a deeply ingrained habit, as some people do, that's very sad, and you should work on breaking that habit. But that still doesn't invalidate the absolution. As long as you have an intention to try and move in the right direction, everything should work out. I do not recommend mortally sinning every day and coming to confession every day. That would
Me neither.
be tiresome for everyone involved. You should.
That would
you
be an
should
emotional
just-
roller coaster.
Yeah,
Your guardian angel would just be like all the time.
Like, come on, let's go again.
And secretly, while you're doing confessions, you're taking notes so that you can write the next sermon and fix the community, right? Or so Brett Weinstein would have us believe. I didn't know Brett Weinstein had commentary on confessions. Certainly stuff that you hear in the confessional does give you an idea of what the people who are coming to confession are dealing with. And if that inspires a sermon, so be it. But nobody's names get mentioned.
Was there anything that surprised you that you would be at liberty to mention?
About hearing confessions?
Mm.
I was surprised that I could just go and do it, right? So it's like, my second day as a priest. It's an hour before my first mass starts. And I just decide I want to go into the confessional and see if anybody shows up, right? And so I go out, I sit down in the chair, and I got my stole on, and I'm like, oh snap, I'm doing this for real now. I'm sure that's kind of you got a baby in your arms, kind of the same kind of fit. Like, I guess I'm responsible now.
Yeah.
And then people came in, and I was just able to do it.
Hmm.
Like I've definitely changed the way I do a few things in the confessional. But yeah, not a ton.
Yeah, that's cool.
Does the penitent receive the remission from sins at the moment of the prayer of absolution or at the moment of the act of penance after?
Oh boy.
So assuming that they've got grave sin, which needs a confessional, they would receive the remission of sins at the moment of absolution. What is needed for absolution is the intention to perform the penance that you've been assigned. For venial sins are super easy to have forgiven. You can just make an act of contrition in your heart, and that will actually forgive the venial sins. You can be blessed with holy water. That will forgive the venial sins. You can make an act of charity for God, and that'll wipe away all venial sins. I don't know if you guys knew that, but venial sins are super easy to have forgiven. It's still good to confess them so you can make sure that they're being forgiven and that you can become aware of the little sins you're committing. So it's still a pious practice, but not strictly necessary. Oh, receiving communion with some level of fervor.
Oh,
venial
yes.
sins gone. Being blessed by the bishop, specifically. That's what Thomas Aquinas says. That little silent blessing that the bishop can give when he's going by.
What about the Pope?
Pope too. He's a bishop.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, that's right.
Yep. Oh, looks like Carlos is actually trying to get in here, but he doesn't have his devices connected yet.
Oh, well, we look forward.
I haven't talked to Carlos in a minute.
I don't think I've ever seen the face of Carlos.
It's.
I think I have.
Does making the sign of cross forgive venial sins? Probably does. Bam. We're all good to go.
Oh, hold on. You can't see it.
I have holy water here in the house too, so that helps. Yeah.
Oh, I need my bottle refilled.
I have salt too.
Nice.
Oh, I should get some of that.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't actually know what you do with salt, but I heard it's pretty good, so I should get
Throw
some
it
of
in the corners of rooms and stuff.
Ooh.
Has it been properly exercised?
Yes.
Is it exercise? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just salt. I wouldn't brag about just having salt.
Yeah.
You need
I mean,
some
salt's pretty good, but
some of this in an old
Yeah,
jelly
there you go.
jar.
So have you ever had to perform an exorcism? I'm gonna guess no. Like
No.
on a person, not
No,
more,
no.
not just on salt.
I do not have the faculties to. I have the book though. I can show you the book.
Oh, okay. Yeah, show us the book.
the book.
So this is the old Roman ritual, the Weller volumes. So it's got Christian burial and exorcisms, reserved blessings.
What's the etc.?
What's the etc.? Let's take a look here. Looks like we've got blessings approved for certain places, litanies, registers to be kept by pastors.
Mm-hmm.
That's some real
That's some real chapters right there.
Yeah. Catholics don't
We don't
have a
have a
specific
Sure we
crossing
do.
motion. Yeah, top, bottom, left shoulder, right shoulder.
Yeah, we were told left shoulder, right shoulder, and I think we were told that was pretty important.
Mm-hmm. Is it a coincidence that Maimonides has almost the same breakdown of sin levels and atonement? Maybe a good longer conversation at some point. Well, as a good Bishop Barron once said, that the Catholic Church suffers when it forgets its Jewish roots, and so maybe there's something more there, but I don't have it at my fingertips. Usually, it's like 1 John chapter 4, where he talks about not all sin being deadly. That's where we look at when we talk about the difference between venial sin and mortal sin. How hard is it to receive the faculty for exorcism? Orthodox priests don't need a faculty. All of them can perform exorcisms. So this is something I've heard, is that Orthodox priests will actually do remote exorcisms. So they'll be like saying the prayer for the patient in a different location, which probably works. Like, I'm not going to say it's a bad idea, but the Catholic practice is usually a little bit more hands-on. You've got your Roman ritual there. And you're doing this exorcism, which is reserved to the priests that the bishop gives the faculties to. So basically, the bishop would want somebody who's doing this to be properly suited for this this task that he's been given. A little bit of training. Yeah, the training, you just go kind of apprentice under somebody who's been doing it for a while, and then you can go do it. And specifically, I also have another book.
Meanwhile, I'm messing with my lighting.
Very nice.
Maybe I like being in the dark. I don't know. What's that one?
Minor exorcisms and deliverance prayers for priests.
So you
And
can
this
you can do minor exorcisms then.
Yeah, this was recommended to me by the exorcist of the Archdiocese of St. Paul, Minneapolis. And he said that there's nothing in this book that is reserved, that any priest can do them at any time. And it's got some pretty intense stuff in it,
No, okay, this lighting's too grim. I'm going away again.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
All sorts of minor exorcisms there.
I don't have to worry about my
So
lighting.
anyway,
Right.
that's what I know. I know the guy in our diocese who does them.
Mm-hmm.
I hear they're kind of long and kind of tedious, and only occasionally tricky. Yeah.
So Joseph and I were talking once long ago about I told him something about how in order to understand a certain thing, you would have to get to know the life of the church. And he asked me some follow-up question along the lines of, do you think people in the Catholic Church are like that much better than people in other churches or other places? And it made me realize that I wasn't sure he knew what I meant by the life of the church. And if he's here, maybe he would like us to talk about what the life of the church is.
Yeah.
Are you here, Joseph?
He's posted at 9:09.
Okay,
So
let's just assume he's here,
we'll
because
see.
that might be kind of an interesting, if that's a phrase most people aren't familiar with,
Yeah.
could be kind of interesting to talk about, right? Because the church has a life, right? The life of the church isn't just how people who are in the church live or how they act.
It would be the Holy Spirit that would be the
Yeah.
life of the church. The Spirit of Christ. Yeah.
Well, but it's not just the Holy Spirit. Like, it's not synonymous with the Holy Spirit. Like, the Holy Spirit's like involved. But the life of the church is like, it's like the life that the church is having on earth. You know what I mean?
Okay, it's more like the rhythms and the rituals and the
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
institutions.
Right. It's partly the liturgical year. Is that Carlos?
It is Carlos.
Oh, hi, Carlos.
Oh, darn, he
Hey.
has a webcam.
Aw,
Yes.
His boss just walked in.
Hey,
Nah, it looks
hey
like he's
guys.
walking from
Hi.
home.
Hey.
How you doing, Carlos?
I'm good. I'm good. I mean, can't really talk much now because it's a little busy in the morning. So,
Okay.
but I just wanted to say hi to everyone.
Yeah, nice
Good
to
to
see
see
you.
you.
Yeah,
Good to see you. I hope the kids are
yeah,
well.
yeah. It's actually my son's 6th birthday. Yeah. So
Oh.
yeah,
Happy birthday.
time flies fast.
Yeah.
Crazy.
For sure.
Yeah. Right. I'll probably just hang out in the chat. So
Okay.
yeah.
Good to see you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Good to see everyone.
You too.
Yeah, but anyway, the life of the church, for sure the liturgical year would be the number one thing I would think about in that regard. But what else could we mention? Well, maybe just like all the people who are getting the sacraments and how that works. That's part of the life of the church, I guess. Like
Yeah,
not just
yeah.
the liturgical year, but just the fact that there are always people getting various sacraments.
Mm-hmm.
And those sacraments function in a certain way and have certain rituals that go with them, and people
Yeah.
attend them and are
That's
involved.
that's certainly a sensible way to talk about the life of the church. But that wouldn't be like a strict. That would be more like a sociological category, I think, than
Mhm.
a theological category that you're talking about, which is
Yeah.
fine because
Mhm.
we can
Yeah, but
utilize it
it's
on
a
that
thing
level.
it's a thing people say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The life of the church.
All right.
But yeah, it just occurred to me that conversation that I'd never really had to define it before. It was just like a phrase people toss around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Charlie Campbell just meant for the hands or whatever. I guess you see some people do it like this with the fingers all together like that. And some people just do it like this. So,
Oh, well,
and I think
is it supposed to be these two fingers? Or does it
that's
matter?
that's the thing, is it? He's right.
Sometimes I
It
just end
isn't
up
actually
slapping myself
specified.
a bunch of times.
Oh.
Yeah. So I've always done just kind
Oh,
of a
you just
flat
do your whole
hand.
hand?
Yeah. You'll see the Eastern traditions tend to bring their fingers together like this. They're very specific about that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I
S-
tend to do this.
yeah. Sir Dabsalot says he's never heard of a remote exorcism. Okay, that was told to me by somebody else. Like I don't know. But his priest definitely shows up for every exorcism he has to do. Very cool. Rabbi Yosef has no memory of what you're talking about. Are you sure it was him?
Well, it's good that he's here. Yeah, I think it was him. It was a
Okay.
really long time ago, though.
Okay. The unforced rhythms of grace quote from the Message. I don't know the message, so I can't laugh along with the joke.
Yeah, I don't know what the message is either.
Yeah. All right.
What's the message, Charlie?
We'll get there. Sir
Okay.
Dabsalot respectfully disagrees with Laura. The Holy Spirit is the life of the church. And I don't think, Laura, you would say that the Holy Spirit isn't the life of the church, right?
Well, yeah, I think we're talking about a different thing there.
That would be heresy.
Well, yeah, the Holy Spirit is the life of the church in what sense, Father? Like, as in the Holy Spirit is what gives life to the church? Is that how you would say it, or what?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like you could think of every individual Christian as being a cell in the body, right?
Yeah.
And every cell in your body, every tissue in your body receives its life from the soul, right? That's what gives its movement. So if we're going to think of the church as a supernatural organism that's capable of moving in a supernatural way, then absolutely that outstrips our power individually as just physical creatures. But to have any sort of contact with God, any sort of contact with grace, it needs to be empowered by the Holy Spirit. It's beyond our capability. So, insofar as we are part of the church, and insofar as we are actively cooperating with the Holy Spirit, then the Holy Spirit is the life of the church.
Yeah, but I was just thinking of this phrase, the life of the church, that people do use sometimes, which tends to mean the pattern of life through the church year, more like, yeah.
So, anyway, we just have to distinguish the different usages of the term. And yeah. So, the Message is a Bible paraphrase version.
Oh, like the Good News Bible, maybe.
Yeah, the Good News Bible or the Catholic Living Bible. That was the first Bible I ever sat down and started reading. It
Wow.
was the Catholic. It was a paraphrase. It was a paraphrase, and I got,
Mm.
I read that.
So, hey, Father, what did you think when they changed the translation of the liturgy back in, what was it, like 2012?
Yeah. So remember, I was like a brand new seminarian at the
Yeah.
time. So I remember this was coming, right? And so I just graduated from high school. We were having our summer seminarian gathering. I'm 18. I don't know nothing. That's fine for an 18-year-old. So we have a Q&A with the bishop every year during our summer seminarian gathering. And I'm like, so why are we even doing this? Right? Like, what was wrong with it? And the bishop's secretary, he gave a good little answer about, the original Latin version and needing to be faithful to that. Which I just didn't understand at all, right? Because it was like I didn't know anything. But so anyway, I was in the seminary when it happened, and we were all like very ready for it. We had all had our cards right there with the new responses on it. And now that I'm a little more, so that was my reaction at the time. It was like, I guess we're doing this, and we'll just do it, and we're not going to worry about it. Yeah. Is it perfect? No. Is there any such thing as a perfect translation?
No,
That would
indeed.
be the Dewey Reams Bible. That's a perfect translation.
No. There's no such thing as a perfect translation of anything.
Yeah. So it's not a
Yeah.
perfect translation. Sometimes, like I really wish we could have the people who had the quality of English, like in the 16th century, like that kind of quality of English. If we could have somehow brought that in there, because occasionally the new translation does feel a little bit, I don't know, dry, technical. It just doesn't feel like it's got like a really solid translation, like a really excellent translation would simultaneously be accurate and beautiful. And I feel like the one we have now is mostly just accurate.
At least it's
So
accurate.
Yeah, well, right. At least it's accurate.
at least it's accurate. It was an
I spent-
improvement. It was definite
yeah.
improvement
Yeah.
over just like the really just horribly sloppy
bad.
translation that we
I
were.
spent years being enraged over the old translation, and then around the time they changed the translation to a better one was when I left the church.
Hey, me
And
too.
I remember thinking, oh man, if I were still into this, I'd be so excited that they're having a more accurate translation. Yeah, but then I was away for a long time. Then when I came back, I had to relearn some things.
That was kind of the same time I left too. But I wasn't like super upset about that.
You were like 10?
I was like 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of different. Yeah. So, but I remember being involved in a couple things around the time that they were getting ready to introduce the new translation, and or do you want to comment on what Zacharias is saying there?
But I think this is pretty wild because like you started going back to church after listening to Jordan Peterson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't start listening to PVK until I saw that big, Protestant pastor comments on Jordan Peterson, right? I listened to Peterson first. So
I
Yeah.
remember I saw Paul Vanderklay in a conversation with Jonathan Pajot first. I was like, who is this guy? And then I just didn't look into it at all. And then I saw the Peterson commentary and I was like, oh, wait, it's this guy again.
Yeah, I first saw PVK in a conversation with Peugeot. It was really Peugeot, and it was Peterson to start with, but it was more Peugeot who specifically got me to go back to church.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's wild.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
took a
wild.
while though. I had to do a lot of detoxing, I guess.
Yeah.
So it was 2017 when I started listening to Peterson. And it wasn't until October or November of 2020 that I finally went back to church.
Wow, you went during all that.
Yeah.
I went just
Well,
before.
2020. it was a kind of apocalypse.
Yeah.
So it was a time to realize things, right?
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
take stock of things again and
it's
make
really
commitments.
that's true. The
Yeah.
interesting thing is I started going back to church in like March of 2020 or February. And then like a month later everything shuts down. I'm like, guess I can't go to church now. And
Oh
now
man.
it's funny because I've met so many people at like these Latin masses and stuff who are like, oh yeah, I remember back in May 2020 we started this Latin mass here and stayed open during the whole pandemic. I'm like, gee, I wish I knew about that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I was just sitting at home waiting to go back to church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but anyway, I was gonna say about the translation. I was singing with a choir that was touring around different churches at that time, and I remember being at a church rehearsing. And then after we did our rehearsal, somebody who was also traveling around the diocese, but for the purposes of teaching people about the new translation,
Hmm.
sort of came on a few minutes after we finished rehearsing, so I got to hear his presentation. And the thing, so I'm a translator, or I was for like 20 years. Now I'm teaching, but translation's always been my main thing. So it was interesting to hear the questions people asked him, because basically what kept happening was that people would raise their hands and ask, well, we used to say, you know, we used to say he descended to the dead, and now we're going to say he descended into hell. Why are we changing it to that? Or then someone else would raise their hand and go, well, we used to say and also with you, and now we're going to say and with your spirit. Why are you changing it to that? Like, they wanted to know with each specific line, why is it this now,
You
right?
just
Like,
need
there
like a
was a
side by
specific
side with the Latin and English and go through the
right.
whole
And
thing.
he would give
Hmm.
them kind of long answers, but I wanted to just run up there and be like, guys, the answer to all your questions is because that is what the text says, right? The source text says this, so we're gonna say it too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, generally I think we're in a better position with it.
Yeah.
And maybe someday when I'm an old gray bearded priest, we'll have the
Hmm.
perfect mass translation come out. It'll be simultaneously beautiful and accurate, and I'll rejoice on that day. Until
Oh
then,
yeah.
what we've got is all right. And
Yeah,
if we
it's
just
okay.
did everything in Latin, we wouldn't have to worry about translations. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
So in the church I grew up with, we always said, and with your spirit.
Even before the translation?
Yeah, because we weren't Catholic.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember I didn't know why they changed it from and also with you to with your spirit, and I heard it had to do with the Latin. And then I
Yeah.
finally went to a
'Cause it's
Latin
supposed to
mass.
be in translation.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
I
supposed to
know.
be something we just make up.
I know. I now I know that. But then I went to a Latin mass and I heard them saying "Et cum spiritu tuo," and I'm like, oh, it says spirit right there. This is so obvious. This is the better translation. So I don't know what
pretty
people are
stinking
complaining
obvious
about.
right there. Yeah.
So something that I don't know if anyone's interested in this, probably not, but if we're talking about translations, something that I find kind of interesting is that we always use the familiar form of you to address God, and in most languages you use the familiar form of you to address the priest as well. But in French they don't, I think. I think in French, when you make the responses in the French translation of the Mass, the priest is vous.
Ooh,
Oh,
Also, when you say the Hail Mary, Mary is also addressed as vous, which is strange.
which
very
is
strange.
strange because the angel Gabriel literally approached the Blessed Virgin Mary and said, "Hi." Well, hi,
Hi,
Ray,
hi,
but
Mary.
it's
Yeah,
hi.
Dominus tecum. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, when he actually uses the word you, it's tecum, not
yeah. Hi,
whatever.
Mary. God's with y'all.
Ave Maria.
Yeah, right. Ave
Hi
is the
there.
casual greeting, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't salve. It was olive ave. It's just and that's the Latin, and the Greek I can't remember. I know it's Haire. That's the casual greeting. So
I don't know
Yeah,
what
but
I'd
then
do if an
also,
archangel appeared and said, "Hey there."
yeah. And then interestingly, I noticed that at the Spanish Mass, even though officially the response is "Y con tu espíritu,"
mhm.
a lot of the congregation say "Y con su espíritu" just because I don't know. I guess it feels weird to them to be talking to the priest and using the familiar form of dress, but that
Is
is
this
in
still
fact what they are
French?
supposed to do. What?
Is this still French?
No, this is Spanish now.
Oh.
So
Oh, okay.
in Spanish they are supposed to call the priest tu during mass, but some people just don't. I think
Yeah,
it's
well, the
probably people who've
Spanish,
never really thought about it, but it just probably just feels weird to them.
a ton of the Spanish masses I've been to, I don't speak Spanish, so I've got the little, booklet in front of me with all the different that, and the priest is supposed to say, uh, "El Señor es con vosotros" or something like that, but they all
Well,
say "ustedes."
well, yeah, here you'd say "El Señor esté con ustedes"
Yeah,
because vosotros is just in Spain.
yeah, and maybe that's a part of like there's this European hegemony over the translations of the Spanish Missal.
Oh, so does your version actually have vosotros printed in it?
Yeah, it has it printed in it,
Oh,
and that's what I imagine is printed in the Missal.
oh, maybe it is.
And that's like
Mhm.
whatever seminarian was putting this together there for our seminary Spanish mass.
Mhm.
Which it's like we got a bunch of white guys doing a Spanish mass. You imagine how that goes. Uh, yeah,
I'm sure they appreciate it.
yeah. So it's just really funny. Just really funny. And the Spanish seem less bothered by these sorts of things than we are.
Hmm. Yeah, it's fun to compare translations though, at least for me.
All right. Speaking
Mhm.
of comparing translations, we got
Uh-oh.
Carlos.
Oh. Oh yeah,
The
Tagalog.
that's how you pronounce it. Okay, very good. The Tagalog translations also use the more formal "you" instead of the familiar.
Oh.
Although in other familiar Filipino languages, there isn't a familiar formal distinction.
So Carlos, who's that for talking to? God, Mary, the priest during the liturgy, all
Or
of
all of the
those.
above.
Yeah.
We don't often talk to Mary
Because like
directly
in
in the
well, because
liturgy.
like in French, you'd still call God by the familiar form. Like in the Our Father, you address God with the familiar form, but in the Hail Mary, you address Mary with the formal form, which I
Yeah.
find very odd.
Yeah. All of the above, Carlos says.
Oh.
All right. I guess I have a meme. Someday when I'm an old bearded priest, makes a meme.
Hmm.
Got a meme coming that way.
Hmm.
Oh.
So when
Yeah.
there are notes on the side here from Jacob Paterecci, are those actually from you or are they from him?
Jacob is listening to everything we say too, because
Oh
this
dear.
is also
This call is
uh,
being monitored.
yeah, for the most
For
part,
quality assurance.
I imagine most of our viewers are coming from his channel there. Um,
Yeah.
so we got
So
the
can you
private chat,
see? Yeah.
and then we got the comments, which are a public chat.
Oh, okay.
So if you can't, those are two different things.
Carlos
I
is the
only
only
see.
one using your channel's chat.
Oh, I see. I can
Oh yeah, he does
toggle
follow my
between
channel, doesn't
private
he?
chat and comments.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm also in there because I can actually use that one.
yeah. Ugh, yeah. So anyway, I'm trying this StreamYard thing out. You know,
Very
this is pretty
nice.
cool. So this is real slick. It all gets integrated straight into your YouTube account and can control everything there, and has a bunch of useful tools. So it's a little simpler to use than OBS. Plus, we could
Oh.
just welcome people in. So it does a lot.
Yeah,
Wait,
I
so
couldn't.
Charlie, I'm Charlie Campbell. In the Lutheran liturgy you grew up with, did you guys say and also with you? I'm a little confused.
We gotta know.
Yeah, is he just expecting it at a Catholic mass or did he say it in his Lutheran church? That interests me slightly because we said and with thy spirit. Oh, you said and also with you? Oh, that's interesting. Was it an ELCA?
Hmm.
No, it's just us staring at the chat.
We
It
gotta
was
know.
ELCA. Okay,
It
that
was
makes
Cannot
ELC.
continue the
Yeah.
conversation
There's
until
there's that 10-second delay.
Okay.
yeah.
10-second delay. The Evangelical
I
Lutheran Church of
understand.
America.
That makes more sense. Yes.
And he
Because we
says,
had a nice old translation and we sang everything, right? So we'd sing, and with thy spirit.
mm,
Ooh, very interesting.
Yes.
yes, more singing the better.
Mm.
And Charlie Campbell says, what a wonderful church organization.
I may detect a hint of sarcasm there.
No doubt. No
Mhm.
doubt.
I don't know what the Missouri Synod church organization is like, but my specific church was nice.
I've liked most of the Missouri Synod Lutherans I've found. Now,
Mm.
here's an idea.
Hmm.
Isn't Peterson kind of Gnostic? And what's your opinion of his more Jungian sentiments?
Is he Gnostic? Gnostic in what sense?
I think I've heard that Gnostics believe that the world is evil and we should kill ourselves.
This is the thing is that this one word Gnostic carries so much
Mm.
water, it's almost useless, right?
Hmm.
They
So
also
sometimes you'll
discarded
hear
the Old
people rage
Testament.
against Gnosticism in the sense that it's two worlds duality, spirit good, matter bad, and that's something that a lot of Gnostic groups believe. But other times it's like this secret knowledge, and that's what they're going after, and you
Oh
got like
yeah.
this secret knowledge that you got to get in there. Maybe he is kind of Gnostic, but nobody's perfect, so I'm not going to worry myself too much about it. I don't know. I don't know much what
I
to
don't know.
make
He
of
doesn't
that.
seem
As
like a
for
super
Jung,
solid
like
candidate.
I was interested in Jung for a while, and I think the danger with Jung is maybe that you don't think in terms of good and evil very much, and instead you just kind of think everything is interesting. You know,
Mm,
oh, like this thing is often thought to be evil, but actually it's just interesting. You know what I mean?
right,
uh,
and sometimes that's a useful sentiment. Like anger isn't intrinsically evil. You know,
Mm.
it's a passion. If
intrinsically
it's
interesting.
yeah. So, like, if that's what
Yeah.
you're dealing with, and you're moving that from the category of this is very bad and I'm not allowed to experience it, that's
Mhm.
actually helpful as a psychologist, right? No, it's like, okay, sometimes you're angry. He's a psychologist, right? So he's
Mhm.
dealing with people like, it's okay to be angry, just like what are you doing with that anger? That's what
Hmm.
Mr.
Yeah.
Rogers taught us, and he's
And I
as
think his
reliable.
take on integrating the
Yeah.
shadow, like Peterson's take on integrating the shadow, is pretty decent from when I've heard him talking about it.
But if that goes too far,
Hmm.
if you don't have the appropriate guardrails up all of a sudden, those guardrails are very useful.
Yeah.
Very useful things.
If it goes too far, you find yourself having people force you to stick your tongue out and cut your arms off, and you go, "Wow, this is so interesting."
Right.
And we're back to Second Maccabees. Not in the Protestant Bible, not in the Jewish Bible, but in the
Oh,
Catholic and
whoops.
the Orthodox Bibles.
So back to the sermon this morning, I was oh, now I'm looking at the comments. There's okay.
Just got a Jungian commentary on the Gospel of John written by an Episcopal priest. Double heresy.
Ooh, yeah, I was gonna say I gotta apologize for not remembering much from the sermon today, but I can tell you that I did spend some time at Mass today thinking about whether I would be able to go through with having my tongue cut out.
Uh-huh.
We would say that the Holy Spirit would come and give you fortitude that this world doesn't understand.
That's what I'm hoping.
That's what we all really got to bank on. And maybe you should try like doing Exodus 90 or something to toughen you up a little bit
I
before.
thought that was just a guy thing. No?
Yeah,
Oh, it
yeah.
is?
Sorry.
Okay.
Well, I mean, there's like a. So here's an interesting take, and I'll get your take on it, Laura. Is
Okay.
like Exodus 90 is more necessary for men because they need to opt into suffering. Whereas women, they
Mm.
might have the option to opt out of it, but they have to like voluntarily do that. I didn't know what to make of it because I've never been a woman before. But it makes on the man side, it does like make sense. Like I actually have to go out of myself to like, I can just sit in front of my computer and do nothing all day. That's an option I have. Or I can go out and
Can't women do that too, though?
yeah, but they've got other things going on.
This all just goes down to giving birth to children, doesn't it?
It happens to be a big deal. If it didn't happen to me, then I wouldn't be here. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
Maybe
not sure.
you
That's an
don't want to
interesting
touch
question.
that.
Well, no, I'd talk about it, but I need to get a little more clear on what I kind of get the idea, but like I mean, so there's hmm, there's a discussion of like what's intrinsically feminine or like what things traditionally belong to feminine existence. And then there's the question of if you are a woman right now in the United States, what does your life necessarily entail? Those are kind of two different things.
Mhm.
Because obviously you can be a woman now in the United States and never have any children and
Right.
never, I don't know, never get involved in any of those things that used to just happen to women because your parents set you up with somebody and then you were married and then you were going to have as many children as you were going to have and it was just going to happen to you.
Yeah.
um I think okay, well, there are certain things that just happen to women, but in terms of being able to meet like the challenge of martyrdom or something, I think you need to have done some uh purposeful practice of some kind.
Mhm. Even if it's just the very simple fasting that the church would, the one main meal, two
Yeah.
smaller meals that don't. Because actually, on my last retreat, the priest who's giving me spiritual direction told me I was being too ambitious with my fasting,
Oh,
and that I needed to scale back on that, which is not what I was
Mhm.
expecting him to say.
yeah.
But he said, "Yeah, listen, sites, just stick with the church's fast.
Ah, interesting.
Uh,
Mm.
Yeah, fasting's
don't."
good for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And giving up other things and and also deliberately exposing yourself to reasonable amounts of pain when you could avoid it.
Hmm.
Like definitely the first time I was going to have a baby, I resolved not to take a lot of painkillers and it was for that reason
Hmm.
that I wanted to train in case I ever had to go through something really bad for faith purposes.
That's hardcore. I like it.
Do they give painkillers when you give birth usually?
Of course.
They're
I mean,
called
they're available.
epidurals.
They won't force them on you, but they're around, yeah.
They're not just like, it's not like they're giving you an oxy or something. They've got like special ones for like it's not going to get into your baby, basically,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, there are different options.
Yeah, it's and the way they inject it or something. So they've got ways of doing it that make it sound maybe less bad than it could be.
okay.
There's an epidural, which is where they inject stuff into like your spinal cord, and then you
Yeah,
don't
that's what
feel
it's
your
called.
whole lower half. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I
basically
never
they
got
like,
that.
yeah. So it all sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
I usually show up by the time of the baptism.
Mhm.
So the
Yeah, it's a
baby's
little.
all dressed
There
up
was
in
a lot of
white.
screaming.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
screamed so much with my first baby that I was really hoarse for days.
Wow.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds pretty intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently my mom pushed me for about 9 hours and then still had to have a C-section.
Pushing for 9 hours, that's not good.
Yeah.
So one of the funny things about you learn a lot if you actually give birth to a baby, you learn how dumb movies and TV are when they show all these things about having a baby. And one of the things they always, I don't know if it's still like this, but one of the things they used to show on TV or movies when women had babies is that the doctors would be telling them to push, right? They'd be like, "No,
Oh yeah.
push again," whatever. You do not need to be told to push. It's like getting hit by a train. You'll just like you have it just happens. No one needs to tell you to push.
Oh
Wow.
man.
Maybe they're all untrained doctors.
Yeah, they're actors. That's why.
Well,
It
Yeah,
just
I guess
sounds
so.
more dramatic. It gives the actors a line to say, I guess. Oh, hey, it's
yeah, I
Mark's
guess so.
Oh man. Are you here to
Ah,
chew us Catholics out for failing, Mark?
I wouldn't know what Catholic failure looked like. Why would I
Yeah.
do that?
Are you here to say
this might
our ceremonies are too weird because you don't know when to stand up and sit down and say stuff?
That's true of all churches. That's not a Catholic. That's a church problem. you
What about
know?
the metal church?
The metal church is the best. That's like the best. I was on a plane with this once, and the guy goes, "That's a church I want to attend." I'm like, "It's a great band. You should check them out. It's
mhm.
quite good." And in fact, their song that particular song is great. It's fantastic. If you like metal music, if you don't like metal music, although the themes that they go through in their music are all awesome. They're very deep. A lot of metal music has really deep themes, and maybe the exception to that is actually Metallica, although the early Metallica stuff is good. But a lot of metal is very deep theme stuff. Like Metal Church has one song based on Edgar Allan Poe, Telltale Heart, which is really good. So
Mark, apparently you're going to heat this stream up now.
yeah, I saw that.
Go on.
Charlie has high hopes for whatever, I don't know what. But
Yeah, what are you here to say? Just say it, Mark.
I'm not here to say anything. I just figured I'd come in and see
chat.
everybody.
Did you just say that Metallica doesn't have deep themes?
He
You
said their early stuff. He said their early stuff was deeper. He did say that.
But yeah, Metallica is not as deep as Metal Church, that's for sure. They're not as a lot of the Metallica stuff isn't as deep as some of the Megadeth stuff either. They're not that deep. I mean, Puppet is great, right?
Outlaw Torn, dude. Outlaw Torn is like I don't know. For me, that's kind of the Metallica sleeper, like the deep one. It's musically, it's not that complex, but lyrically, now that song.
Anyway. They took over the symbolism game because the lame churches like the Catholics gave it up. They should have been on top of that.
I'm okay with giving up Metallica in churches.
What?
No, you're supposed to. If the churches were doing their job, there wouldn't have been a need for Metallica. And I think that's the whole problem, is that the music took over that whole symbolic area, which had a dearth from the church. I mean, I think Bishop Barron actually talks about that, right, in the Four Horsemen of Meaning. He's pretty explicit about it. Like, and it's not even that it happened; it's that they didn't even notice, or at least the priest he was with didn't notice. Which I thought was an amazing story. I was like, this is like the best part of that whole conversation, and no one talks about it, But Bishop Barron makes a really interesting. I don't even think he understands the gravity of his own point, right?
What was his point?
It was he was going to what is it, the big cathedral in France, the Chartres Cathedral,
Chartres.
And right, it's like the biggest Gothic cathedral in the world. It's just an absolute treasure of church architecture, and he's walking through it with this priest, right? He's one of his contemporaries, right? This is like back in the 80s and early 90s. He was like explaining all the symbolism to him.
Oh, right.
And then I can't remember. Do you remember what the other priest said?
He said,
but
this isn't liturgically, correct.
Yes, this isn't liturgically correct, right?
It's a shame it's not liturgically correct.
Yeah.
And it's like, my dude, you need to drop the Karl Rahner, you need to drop the Skillebex and read a little Thomas Aquinas. That's what I shall say to that.
Is that what it's all about? Oh my goodness.
Seriously, Mark, you would be horrified at seminary formation in the United States circa 1968 to about 2000 in most places. Absolutely horrified at what they were doing, It's a shame it's so liturgically off. Yeah, that's what he said. It's a shame it's
What change happened, Eric, to screw everything up in the 60s and traumatize all my relatives?
Jimi Hendrix.
The communists were in charge. So anyway,
of the church, is that
basically
it?
Yeah, the basic. I mean, I don't know if communist is the right word, but it's
thought
like
it was the
revolutionaries.
mafia, because you
No,
were
gosh, the
blaming the
mafia would have
Italians
run it
before.
properly. Mafia would have run it properly.
But you
The
were
mafia have
blaming
a
the
sense of
Italians for
style, I think.
Vatican II. Was it communist Italians? Because that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Communist people
with bad
who
intent.
had a fundamentally revolutionary mindset.
Hey, so Mark, I've heard you talk about your Catholic relatives being traumatized before, but was it Vatican II they were traumatized by, or was it something in the 50s?
Oh, I don't know what the.
okay.
They all went to Catholic schools, so all they talk about is being traumatized by the schools. Right?
Okay, so they were probably in pre-Vatican II Catholic schools where they got beaten and stuff.
I have no idea. I do not know.
Slapping rulers and all that.
Yeah.
Rulers.
Which isn't actually I think actually the big problem has nothing. I actually think that has nothing to do with it. Like I just did a video on navigating patterns. If you haven't seen that YouTube channel, it's great. It's got over 400 subscribers now. Thank you very much. But I just did a video on this education, and I said, look, you can talk about education versus training, and you can talk about the destruction of education in the public school systems, right? And describe, well, they took religion out of school, but that isn't what happened, right? What happened is they took religion, gym, art, music, and recess out of school to some extent, all at the same time. And so why did that happen? Because that's not a we hate religion thing. There's something else going on there, right? It's a much bigger undercurrent. And that's actually why, like, I think that's more important than this alleged fight between science and religion, which the religious people should reject as being thanks, Ethan, as being completely irrelevant. There's an undercurrent that also affects the church, the materialism, roughly speaking, although it's bigger than that, and that's causing all the problems. So you can't say, oh well, and I think, look, I love Paul Vanderklay, but I think Paul falls into this too. I think a lot of church people do. You can't say, oh well, look, the solution to today's problem is to return to church, because I think the churches got corrupted, and that's why people left. They left for the same reason. They left for the same reason that corrupted the church, or the church's corruption is the reason why they left or something. And so them just going back isn't going to work, because the church is still broken in some sense.
Yeah, there's something to that, actually. Like, I wouldn't, if somebody who's like a spiritual seeker, I wouldn't just tell them to go to the nearest Catholic mass and assume that was going to do them any good, and it's kind of because of what you say. But I don't know. What do you think, Father?
Yeah. So here's an example, Mark. So the dominant theologian, 1960s, early 1970s through the 1980s, Karl Rahner, right? Absolute, like, his stuff was all being taught, right? And I'll give you an example of something he taught that would not be, let's say, more traditional. He would say that any of the sacraments that the church performs is actually simply recognizing a reality that is already present, right? So that when we come together and we celebrate the Eucharist, what we're really celebrating is what Christ has already done in the church, right? This was absolutely dominant. This was absolutely what Bishop Barron would have been formed in, and a great many priests of his generation would have been formed in, right? And so when they're in the Chartres Cathedral, they see this huge cathedral. It's very long and narrow, right? And everything's kind of far away, right? And everything's kind of upwards and exalted. It's above you. And so when Bishop Barron's friend looks at that, he says, well, look at how far away the celebration is happening from the people. The celebration should be closer to the people, because this is what we're celebrating, right? Right. Whereas more traditional Catholic theology would say, no, when we perform the sacrifice at the Mass, that is the Lord coming down to us and communicating himself to us, right? So when we talk about this flattening out of the church, right, like that's an extremely insidious nature of it. Guys were being trained to think of themselves not as priests, not as mediators, but merely merely in a reductive way as ministers, right? In the same way that I could become a minister at any church, and I'm just called forth out of the community to take this presiding role, but I'm not actually a mediator of these divine realities. That's
Right.
what
So
guys are being taught in seminary. I'm a functionary.
You're a widget and not a conduit.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's very materialistic. It's funny. So somebody, Grim Grizz posted on the Awakening from the Meaning Crisis server, I guess earlier today, Vervaeke talking on this channel called Fantasy Creates Reality, which is a weird channel name. And I watched it. It's only a little over an hour. It's very interesting, the things he's done, because he's avoiding emanation like you wouldn't believe. I mean, Grim thinks it's his best summary of his work. I would not at all classify it that way, but it is a good summary. But I would call it a good summary of all his blind spots, that's for sure, because he's very much talking about things we do and emergence and more emergence, lots of emergence, and like he categorizes. He starts to categorize things in terms of like the connectedness of things as the important part, without talking about what it's connecting to. And I'm like, but what's it connecting to? And so he's talking about diamonds, right? The ancient Greek
spirits
conception, yeah. Right? Well, yeah, we would call them spirits. Let's give them their due, Father Eric. Let's give them their due. They can't handle the word spirit. They created a new word called egregore. Remember? It's as much as they could deal with. But he talks about that, and he says, well, the diamond isn't so much outside of yourself; it's the connection. And it's like, wait, what? Like, so it's not your private God, which is what it is in ancient Greece, right? But it's the connection. The connection to what, dude? It's connection to what? And then he's talking later on that the second half of it. The second half of it is really brilliant. Actually, it's quite good. It's quite good. He's talking about how there's a fire that you're supposed to, kind of find in yourself, and this is in the Buddhist tradition. So he's linking the Eastern and Western traditions in quite a unique way. Actually, I hadn't heard this before, but I would say they don't need linking. They're just talking about the same thing, right? The Neoplatonism and the Silk Road. No. If you have a tradition here and a tradition here and a tradition here that are all talking about the truth, they're all talking about the same thing, right? So he talks about this kind of self-starting fire. And it's like, well, what about other people to help you? It's nothing. What about an organization or a structure? And what about having a ritual that enables the fire to start? What about leaving a space for the fire? Because it's all like, what can I do to set myself on fire? And the funniest part in the whole talk is the guy he's talking to goes, wow, you've really lit a fire in me. And I'm like, yes, because that's how it works. Like, what? It's so ironic, the whole thing. Yeah, I think it's worth watching just for a moment. Like the other thing he did, which was hysterical. I liked it so much. I sent it to Vanderklay and said, you might want to check this one out, and pointed out a few of these things for him. And the other thing he does is he does that, well, what evolution wants trick. And I'm like, wait a minute, evolution is an agent in the world again. Like, where did the wants of evolution come from, John? I'd love to, like, these evolutionists always fall into that trap. It's hysterically funny.
Oh man. Yeah.
But you can hear from your description, the church is in the same problem with the materialism, right? There's focus on the physical and the focus on the here and now, right? And then the rejection of that, by other people who are focused only on the later, right? Only on the right. And there's no balance in that, right? So the materialism, we'll say, maybe it creeped up in the 60s, right? I'm out on a limb here, but maybe it creeped up in the 60s. And then the fundamentalist was just a rejection of that in some sense. Because fundamentalism, while it focuses on propositions, they also just talk about the afterlife to balance it out. But they're overcompensating for the materialism that came into, we'll say, the mainstream churches. And I think that's where you get the extremism from, is that whole interaction.
Yeah, and there wasn't like a robust response that wasn't fundamentalist, that wasn't fundamentally caught in the game that the materialists were playing of reducing everything to the propositional.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and that's my problem with theology in general. Theology is just the sciencing of religion, or the propositionalizing of religion. And
That
I'm
science
like,
which treats of God and his creatures in relation to him.
yeah,
It's literally the definition of theology right there.
Yeah, but it's very propositional. It's like the propositional
It's literally
version.
exactly correct. I don't have anything to disagree with you with on there. That's what it is. It's literally it's treated as by scholastics is a science, right? But they had an appropriate container for it, right? Because all of the greatest theologians of the church were also saints, and so they had this sense that you needed, in order to be a great theologian, you needed to be participating in the life of God, in the life of the church already, before you would be at all qualified to speak of these things.
Right.
And that's like the great Dominican charism right there. They were preachers, but they had the study and they had the prayer kind of all linked in together.
Right. That's why, when people get into theology, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to get into that because I know nothing. I don't know the propositions that you're talking about. And I think the odds that you're a theologian are probably zero. It's like, oh, I read all these books. It's like, okay, but that's not theology. Is how much prayer have you done, roughly speaking, right?
Yeah.
What's the participation rate? Right. High participation is proper theology, and low participation is you're fooling yourself by trying to claim theological capabilities or credentials or something.
Right, and this is kind of the medieval notion of connatural knowledge. This idea that this is the way I figured this out. This is the way the medievals talked about implicit forms of knowing. It was connatural to you. That I think covers procedural, participatory, and perspectival knowledge. So, and this wasn't explained to me very well in seminary. It was always an extremely murky idea, but it had this sense that, like the really pious church ladies, if you said something heretical to them, they wouldn't be able to explain to you exactly why it's heretical, but they would just know it's wrong immediately. Like, that's not correct. This is what you need to do.
So that's, yeah. So if I were to put that in a better model than Vervaeke's, which is broken and doesn't work, I would call that intuitive knowledge, because it's only intuitive and particular knowledge in our model.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Intuitive.
the intuitive knowledge is the thing you can't communicate well through propositions. When propositions are information, this is where Vervaeke gets it very confused. Like, he's describing information and calling it knowledge very clearly. Right. Like, oh, we have a memory. Oh, do we remember knowledge? Is that what we remember? I don't think so. I think we remember information. So if there's 4 types of memory, and there may be, then there's 4 types of information. Yeah, fair enough. But that's information, not knowledge. That's why I think John's model, one of the many reasons I think John's model is not correct, right? Because he's not talking about the right things.
And if you want to know about Mark's model, you have to go check out his YouTube channel, Navigating Patterns.
Right. I have a video on the knowledge engine, and that is the core model right there.
Yeah. So
with
anyway,
with slides.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, this thing that you were talking about that you don't like and you think is destroying the churches, the materialism, functionally, that was the program from like 1960 to 2000 in a lot of places. And it goes on longer in some places. It ends sooner in some places.
Sure, of course.
This is why I do this kind of stuff, because I think I'm trying to bring some of these insights here into the church so that we can feed our children.
Yeah.
Sustainable. Yeah.
Well, I mean, do they have a sense? Because like everyone gets this materialism idea completely wrong, in my opinion, right? They keep going, oh, well, it's not that only material exists, but that's not materialism. Is just the statement that you believe that the primary mode of, we'll say, action in the world is from material. In other words,
right.
Like, well, Twitter is making everybody into a dumpster fire or something. It's like, no, or capitalism is for, right. Somebody said that to me the other day. That always drives me nuts. I've got a capitalism video recorded too. It's coming. The editor needs to grab that one. it's when you think that the material of the world, whether you created it as a human or not, is the thing that's moving the world and not spirit, which is correct. The correct answer would be spirit, right? And you can see, like, the materialism, they bump up against the edge of materialism. And then they need, it's like, oh, materialism doesn't describe this. We need something. Egregore. I know. Without, unironically, without understanding the etymology of the word, they grab it. And I'm like, you don't know where that, because I studied the occult when I was young. I'm like, you really don't want to use that word. You do not understand the Pandora's box you're opening for yourself as a materialist when you start using a word like egregore.
Well, I'd say it takes a long time to be cured of these sorts of things. So when I went to seminary, I was a pious young lad. I believed in God. I believed in the sacraments, all these sorts of things. I was trying to do things the best I could. But when I look back, 10 years, 12 years after, I look at it as I was functionally a materialist, right? And like at 18, that didn't bother me. It wasn't until I started studying human nature, right? My philosophy of the human person class, starting to see what the implications of actually believing that, right? And like the black hole that we have symbolized by just saying the words Sam Harris together, and like the pull that would have, and then in a almost it was like this kind of messed with me for like a period of a month, right, where I didn't know how to resolve this, right? I didn't know how to put these different things together. And like the kind of my friends and the formation faculty are like, are you all right, Sites? Like, you seem like just kind of distressed by this, and it didn't help that it was cold as heck outside that year, and I wasn't leaving the seminary buildings very often. And then I just like had this realization that came out, and you know what? A whole is more than just the sum of its parts. Like, that's the way it ended up getting expressed. But I think it was something like deeper, and that was what I was able to articulate right then and there.
What was it? What was this class, and what were they teaching that broke you out of this materialism?
Well, it was like a historical survey of views of the human person, right? And so I had gotten like, soul and body with Aristotle, and I didn't really understand it. I knew how to play with the words correctly to get a good grade on the test, which is not a bad place to start. But then we got like to 17th century materialism. And then I figured out that that's what I actually believed. I wouldn't have been able to say this at the time, but like, well, that's what I actually believe right there. Just like this mechanical view of the human person there. And it's like, wait a minute. Like, on the one hand, I have this faith, right? Which I didn't fully understand either, what it meant to have faith in those days. But then I've got like this other thing and this materialist view and like science and physical causality, all this thing. I didn't know how to put them together. I didn't know what order they should go in. And so it wasn't like this all of my professors were Catholic, unless I was at another university taking like math or something. So it's not like they were trying to teach me this, but it was, you had to be exposed to it in order to have it drawn out and cured, basically. So it was like a historical survey of different views of human nature. Yeah. So I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that's good. That's interesting. Yeah, one of the things I've been tracking for a while, and I asked Jack Vicinich about this. His channel is Dr. Lantern Jack. He's got to talk about excellent talks with Vervaeke. His AI Plato's Cave, the Matrix video, man, that is Vervaeke at probably his best by far. It's not a good survey of his work, but it's a good survey of certain parts of his work. But one of the things I asked Jack about, because he's a PhD, he's an ancient philologist. He has a PhD in philosophy, unfortunately, but he likes to be called an ancient philologist because he has the same problems with modern philosophy that I do. They're all fakers. They're all self-job creators. He actually says that. It's really funny. But But what I asked him is, I said, do you think that the inability to understand sequence, because we seem to be confused about which comes first and which comes second, and why that's important, right? And so like, for example, if you think that capitalism is controlling people, towards more wealth, you misunderstand literally all of history, right? Because wealth redistribution increases and becomes better for the poor as capitalism increases. Like, it's right there in the data. You can kind of see it, right? But also, all the things they're talking about happened before capitalism. And so it can't be capitalism's fault if it happens before capitalism and without capitalism, right? And that works. You can argue people that way, and that works. But I think it is the loss, and Jack sort of agreed with me that it could be the loss of the teaching of formal and final cause, which I know is one of your favorite sort of. But there's your emanation versus your emergence, right? Because final cause is emanation, and formal cause is emergence.
What?
Yeah. Meeting crisis solved, guys. Are you going to bed, Laura?
Yeah, I was just about to say it's my bedtime, so good night.
Yeah, I
close
think
to
it's
mine
mine
as
too.
well. Well,
I guess we're gonna have to stop the Catholic Q&A.
Yeah, it's okay. We can let these heathens in.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it was an exclusive club. My goodness.
No, it wasn't supposed to
Wow.
be, but for the longest time, it was me, Andrew, and Laura, all Catholics. So
You
Yeah.
should have pinged me earlier. I would have come in and looked over the tables for you, because you're all unable to do that because you want to believe Jesus is perfect or something.
all right, you take care, Andrew.
All right. Well, have a
You
good night,
may.
everyone.
Yeah,
We
peace.
should do this another time.
We may.
Yes.
We may very, very well.
All right. Have a good night.
Night.
We got to get the 24/7 stream going like Jacob wants. I mean, PVK made an admission there. So
Well, I probably will be pulling an all-nighter reading this, so I probably could. You wanted to know what the book was? Exploring Psychology and Christian Faith.
Bye.
By who's it by? Paul Mearns and Daniel J. Tellerhausen.
don't know either
right.
of them.
But yeah, I'm not surprised. It seems like a pretty third-rate book, but I have to write an essay on the entire book by tomorrow, so that's fun. But that
Good luck
was
with
my
that.
fault for not starting. Anyway, but yeah. So maybe I'll take over and just go through the night by myself and see if anyone drops in.
Well, this is being simultaneously broadcast on Jacob's stream, and it's being broadcast on my YouTube channel. And so, I don't know if we would want to. I wouldn't be comfortable broadcasting onto Jacob's stream with somebody else at the pilot, even though the 24-hour stream is his idea.
So I am on his list of.
Oh, are you?
Qualified people.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll probably talk to Jacob.
Well, I wouldn't want it on my own channel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's I gotta represent.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What else? What content do you have on your channel, Father Eric?
I've got some stuff about the Bible mostly. I have thought about going real hard on the YouTube stuff, and what I worry about the most is that would bring out the worst in me. Right? Yeah. So far, just about. I've got a few other things like little experiments I did with just little topical videos. But for the most part, everything I've put on my YouTube channel is something I've done for the parish, and I'm just going to share it with YouTube in case somebody finds it useful. So like some talks that I've done, a whole series on the Book of Revelation.
Well,
I really enjoyed doing it. It was very informative for me. Gets a little repetitive near the end because, as it turns out, the book of Revelation is repeating itself constantly. It's like imagine like running a scene all the way through, and then you get a different angle and you run the scene all the way through, and then you get a different angle and you run the scene all the way through. And what it all is all about is just giving us the pattern of the end of the world and what the end of the world looks like. It is useful because the end of the world happens all the time. It might not be end of the world, but it could be the end of a particular world, and worlds end all over the place. Worlds end
or
every
your
day.
world.
Or
Right.
your world. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to reframe Oliver Vicky's work in terms of how the Bible addresses all of it, right? Because the Bible really addresses the perennial problems that John talks about. And
why it's a bestseller.
People keep saying, I think you could hype the marketing up a bit, like if it had a slightly longer, more descriptive title and an actual author. That just helped me to, maybe some better cover art, more consistent, so that I could recognize it. And I think that would boost the sales quite a bit. Vandercliff still doesn't get that joke, by the way, which I think is really funny. He never get it. Every time I do it, he doesn't get it. I'm like, it's still funny, dude.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness.
He hasn't fully integrated the other lobe of his extended consciousness Congress.
Did you see the stream you did on Friday?
I did.
Oh,
that
okay.
was yeah.
What was it? I didn't see it.
It's called
It was
Homeroom.
the homeroom. Yeah, the homeroom stream. Yeah, it was really interesting.
What did you see? What were your impressions? What did you like? What did you not like, etc.?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were a little hard on his Aaron's singles group. I would never ever have a singles group at the church that's just singles group, right? Like we could have the young adult Rosary Crusade. We could have the young adult Bible study group. We could have the young adults. Anything.
You don't want to encourage the sin, huh?
No. The second that you make this explicitly, hey, single people, come here and meet the love of your life, you're going to get all of those dynamics, right? If you've just got a young adults group and it makes it clear, we're kind of catering to the unmarried crowd here, and everybody should be under 35. We'll just draw an arbitrary line. Everybody under that's a young adult. Then you have a chance of actually performing the function of a singles group, whereby people could pair off and live happily ever after together without introducing all of those, with having something else to contain all of those other dynamics.
Right.
Because they're going to be there.
You want it to emerge. Yeah, you want it to be a second order effect, right?
Yeah,
and I think that just shows
we're together to pray the rosary.
But that's just the Protestant desperation, right? Well, we know men come to church for the hot young women, so let's just be honest about it. It's like, this is why you're failing, Protestants. This is why Protestantism fails.
Yeah, no, it should be like, you're here to pray the rosary. This is what happens at Catholic. This is what happens at Catholic college chapels, right? It's like, oh, they're sitting next to Mass together now. They go to daily Mass now and they're sitting next to each other. Isn't that exciting? But it's like, hey, guess what's at the center? The Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, right? Not each other. Right. Boom.
Well, and the Protestants got rid of the overt symbolism. And so I don't think they understand the nature of second order effects anymore, because that's what symbolism is. Symbolism is all about the second order effects.
So I'll say something funny. My the Orthodox parish I've been inquiring at is having like a Christmas choir thing, and they're starting rehearsals at the end of November. That they've been like posting on social media and like putting posters up, and big letters in the middle of the page is sopranos and altos needed. Which is like, there is definitely a heavy skew veil in the parish.
Yeah.
Right?
Bring in the sopranos and the altos.
Yeah,
church choir. That's another great, like, not pairing up thing, but we want you to pair up here is church choir. Another thing that you got something else at the center versus the intention of the group. Get those second order effects. Yeah.
Well, that's good because it draws you out of yourself. Like you're not going to be in a good relationship for, any relationship you have is not going to last if you're in it for selfish reasons. And so you can't be sitting there, staring at each other with the goal of being together, right? You want to grow together in Christ or something, right? You need that containers. Chapter 10 of Beyond Order by Jordan Peterson. I'm just saying. It's right in there. It was funny too because Manuel and I came to that a while ago. Oh, relationships are about the container, not about the individuals in the container, right? And then when you focus on that, everything works better.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my advice to Aaron if he happens to be watching: is become Catholic, and hopefully the Catholic churches aren't making those mistakes too.
Well, they talk about empty, man. The one around here that I went to with my aunt a few times, the place is absolutely empty.
Meanwhile,
no young women.
We're building out there, so it's like that's the thing about the body of Christ: is some parts are gangrenous and other parts are going gangbusters. I can't figure it out.
What are you building out here?
A church.
Where? Oh, in your area. Yeah.
Out there.
Yeah.
Literally out that window. If you could see it properly, you'd see the steel going up.
You're stealing all the Protestants from their churches. That's what you're doing.
Maybe. I don't know. I can't tell. I've got like 13 people in my hey, I want to explore becoming Catholic class that are exploring it. So
oh wow.
We do a lot more baptisms, infant baptisms, Catholic parents, but there's some of that too.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this infant baptism stuff, man. I'm suspicious on that one.
Wow.
Okay. Well, I guess it's just a priority for us to have the kids be a part of the body of Christ as soon as possible.
Are they though? Are they? The problem is that it creates all kinds of problems, right? Like one of them is that being baptized after you're able to understand the relationship is a part of the materialist problem of, oh, the world only existed when I became conscious, right? That's the part of Sam Harris's mistake. It's like you listen to Sam Harris and you realize, oh, he thinks the world starts when he became conscious, and that there was nothing before that, and that's true for everybody else too, right? Which is a deep materialist error for sure. But the whole Catholicism issue is weird. So the first time I went to Charleston, I was in South Carolina taking care of my mother while she had cancer right before she passed away, and my friend came down from New England, and I don't know, she's not a particularly good friend. She would describe herself this way. I'm not a particularly good friend, but she came down 3 times while I was taking care of my mother, and she came down and she just planned to like take me away from where I was, and we went to Charleston, right, which is about 2 hours from here. It's not that far, and Charleston's gorgeous. Oh my goodness, it's a lot like Boston too, which is very strange. It's a lot like Boston. It's just a southern version of Boston, and much bigger. But we did this tour, and on this tour, they were talking about, I think Charleston, South Carolina has more churches than any other city or town in the United States or something. It's like, and there are churches everywhere. It is crazy. You can't recognize them as churches because Protestants suck, but they're there. And the thing that really struck me was they were, we're driving along in a horse-drawn carriage through the city, and they're pointing things out, and they go, well, and that's one of the last churches built in the center of Charleston, the Catholic Church, like we let them in last. Everybody laughs. And I was like, oh, this is high blasphemy in New England. You'd never, and yet the New England's are Puritans. They're not a lot of Catholics up there either, but you don't talk religion in New England. You just don't do it. And you certainly would never say anything about somebody else's. I've never heard anybody in New England ever speak badly about another person's faith ever. Mostly because they don't talk about it, right? If you ask them, they'll tell you what church they go to or what denomination or whatever. But generally, it's you don't do it. Like it just never literally gets discussed at all because they knew better. Like they understood we can cooperate under God without getting into the details. And I think that's where it's sort of funny, right? The Puritans had ecumenism correct in some sense, maybe incomplete, but correct in the sense that they've been doing it for a long time, and it seems to work out because they don't get into those religious battles anymore. I mean, you can argue in the old days they certainly did, but and part of that was fights over land, and there was a lot more wrapped up in it.
So what does this have to do with infant baptism?
Well, again, it's that whole idea that there is this battle between the Catholics and what they're doing, right, and how they approach these things, right, and they're being kept out for reasons, and that's one of them, right? Is infant baptism is bullshit, right? And it's one of those things that gets objected to quite strenuously by certain groups.
Mm-hmm.
I mean it literally is one of those issues for the Protestants, or at least some of them, at least, where they're just like, this is a hard line, and absolutely no, you're all insane. Clearly, the Pope is the Antichrist, which I mean, I can maybe agree with that sometimes, but
it depends on which one, right?
Yeah, the current one, I'm still a can. I'm still it seems like a good candidate right there, but yeah.
Oh, come on. I have no idea.
Oh man, if I stay up much later, this is way past my bedtime. I'm gonna start saying what I'm really thinking. And that's dangerous right there.
So I have one more question for Mark then, because you bad math philosophy, and that's why I came on. So I wanted to ask you if I should throw my major in the garbage and change it to something different.
Yeah, I mean, philosophy, especially modern philosophy, is all garbage. Like, it's not. You don't need any of it. Like, it's just
is
a
it,
lot
is
of
it
it.
The problem that it's been brought into the academy, and it was always supposed to be a little more hands-on, boots on the ground.
It's supposed to be in the gym.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be in
so I will say at Biowa, I think we're required to take 2 classes that are called practical wisdom classes, and they're based on Pierre Hither's book. We don't use the book, but it's based on Pierre Hither's philosophy as a way of life idea, right? And there is a concerted effort at Biowa as a Christian university to connect philosophy with practicing your Christian faith. So they're trying, and I think they recognize. Yeah, go ahead.
What modern philosophy is set against this thing called metaphysics, and I have a video on that too, where metaphysics is a complete misunderstanding, and B, bullshit. Right? When people are talking about metaphysics, they're talking about religion. In other words, post Kant, certainly, but maybe before Immanuel Kant, the project has been to replace religion with philosophy, rather like explicitly. And that's garbage. That's all garbage. There's no reason to do that. And I think the one of the really good things that Vervaeke brings in is physical practices, because I think that's actually where the key is. Physical practices are important and significant and need to be paid attention to, and that's where proper philosophy is brought together, right, into the real world. And so studying it in a book and especially only doing that, but doing that at all is questionable to me. And it was questionable to Plato.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and certainly, like, one thing I'm learning here is, like, the department is making the argument that philosophy, properly understood, is a handmaiden to religion and theology. It's proper subservience, right?
You should know, Mark, that my man Thomas Aquinas does not understand philosophy the way you do, or metaphysics. It's what is it? I went over this the commenting on your YouTube channel, Navigating Patterns. That oftentimes people will use metaphysics in the sense of ontology, But you said that still collapses into a religion, right?
Well, I mean, it depends which version of there's 5 standard definitions for the word ontology. That's
Sure.
another problem in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
When the way people use the term metaphysics, they are speaking about religion.
Mhm.
If you try to create an ontology, you are in the realm of science and out of the realm of religion. But the
Mhm.
question is, what makes you think that, like, if there is an ontology to being, what makes you think that you could ever know that? Like, that's an insane problem. This is the water you swim in. It really, literally is just, honest to God, you're a fish in a body of water. And what makes you think you can ever understand fully the water you swim in when you
Mhm.
can't get out of it long enough to
To
see
look at
it?
it. Yeah.
It does not make any sense that would be the case. So this is just a denial of the concept of limitation as such. And I would argue that denial of limitation is the same as the denial of the concept of creation. And just to loop that back real quick, Richard, just to make one of the points that Jack made. So Jack Vicinich actually traveled around the world to various colleges, to the heads of philosophy departments himself personally, and met some very famous people. I don't even remember all their names, but there were actually people that I knew in modern philosophy, and asked them point blank as heads of the philosophy department, what are you working on, and do you believe in absolute truth? And almost all of them said they do not believe in absolute truth. And his point was, and he told them all this apparently, according to him, that's what people think you're doing. And so we have a deep disconnect between what philosophy departments are doing and what people think philosophy departments are doing. And that alone should be like enough of a problem that people go, well, what the hell is what's going on? Like, that's kind of a big deal. And I would say proper philosophy is in according to the ancient Greeks is more about implementation and justification for the implementation, and not justification for the action, because the action for the ancient Greeks is all justified by the gods anyway. It's a gift. That's a solved problem for them. They never needed that fixed because it was never a problem. It's a problem for us only if we remove, and this is the other problem that Vervaeke made, or a statement that Vervaeke made on this tradition as a living force video that he did on this Fantasy Creates Reality channel. He said, Hume was one of the contributors to. No, Hume didn't contribute to the materialist problem, because Hume was embedded in the religion, and as long as you use enlightenment as embedded in religion, it doesn't become a problem. And I talked about that on my channel with Adam too, and I have two great conversations with him, right? And when you understand the Enlightenment in the framework of the Christian religion, nothing about the Enlightenment leads to any of the problems we have today. Nothing. Those problems do not occur. It's the unmooring of the philosophies, of the implementations from their reason, from their purpose, from their telos, that causes all the problems. It's right, which shouldn't be a surprise. But apparently even Vervaeke doesn't understand this simple statement.
All righty. Very good. Gentlemen, it's been a good time. I wish you guys were here at the beginning of the stream, but we had fun along the whole way. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I guess if you really wanted to, Mark, you could try and keep the party going over on your channel, but on my channel, it's bedtime.
I don't think so. I think it's my bedtime too. It's later for me than it is for you, but I appreciate the opportunity to come on and chat with you as always, Father Eric. And
it's always good, Mark.
More conversations in the future.
And I don't know if I've ever met you, Richard, but I think I saw you before. So
yeah, we've seen each other around. But I think this is the first time interaction.
Sure. All righty. Have a good night and God bless.
You too.
God bless.